Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamers Lounge podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always is Eric, Nathaniel, Dennis, and Robert from the great state of Hawaii, where it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon there.
Hello, hello.
Right now.
Welcome.
It's actually 3 o'clock in the
I know,
afternoon.
yeah. I know. I always like to say you're from the future, but you're not. You're actually way from the past.
Right, yeah.
But if you go too far over on that line, all of a sudden you're in the future. It's like
Well, that's how time travel works. If you go far enough into the past, you leap into the future.
Oh, okay, I got you. I understand. That makes total sense.
Oh, Back to the Future for a reason.
Yeah,
That is true.
it's
we
not
covered
like
this in the 80s.
It's not like Star Trek where you got to go around the sun real fast, and it's not,
Don't
it's
need
not like
Superman to reverse the spin on the planet.
that at all. Yeah. Every
Throw the
time
planet in a VHS and hit rewind,
yeah.
That
Everybody
works.
says that, and all I can think of is a Simpsons episode where Homer dies and goes to heaven and goes, "I want to go back to Earth," and he goes, "That would mean," God says, "and that would mean I'd have to redo time," and he just looks at him and says, "Well, Superman did it." So Superman could do it. Why can't God do it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Aren't they the same person?
sure.
I
I don't know. It depends. Not in the Zack Snyder universe, apparently, but I mean, in the Christopher Reeve one, yeah, but
Well, I don't know. I mean, in the Zack Snyder universe, I guess he's more like Jesus, right? He can be right.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess he is more like Jesus. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Just needs a little bit of that vitamin D from the sun. Once he gets that power, we're good to go, So
A little
bit
jump start.
Yeah,
just
just a little.
a little bit of ultraviolet fuel, and
See,
we're good to go.
that's what I never understood. In the movies, they're like, "Oh, vitamin D. All he needs is sun." Well, how can he go to other planets? In other galaxies, do they have the same sun? I guess as long as it's a yellow
just not-
sun, that's all that matters.
He's
I mean,
just not
yeah,
super if
I
he's
don't
not in the yellow radiation, or so they say.
I mean, I've seen the cartoon where he went to Apocalypse, and that was red, but he still had all his superpowers. So what's up with that? I mean,
Well, it looked red through the atmosphere, but the
Oh.
radiation was still yellow sun.
yeah. See, if
Come
you
on.
have to explain that much, you lost me. Yeah, I've suspended you. My
That's why they
disbelief-
didn't explain it. See?
Yeah, exactly. That's why they
I think
didn't.
But then they spend 20 minutes and you're just like all confused, and then you're just like, when are we
Yeah.
going to do the actual like Superman story? Come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, you have to do a whole TED talk about it. It's
Yeah, a whole TED talk. That's what we need is a TED talk on Superman. That would be great.
Yeah.
I'd watch
Have
that.
an animated TED talk at the beginning of a Superman, animated movie. That'll work,
Yeah,
right?
instead of
Setting-
showing
setting it up.
previews and stuff like that and commercials when you sit down, it's just running in a loop of 15-minute explaining the whole thing of Superman, so they don't have to explain it in the movie. So show up early.
we just got Richard Dawkins to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's really important. It's vital information to be able to enjoy the story, guys.
It's
like
true. Emphasis on vital too.
Yeah, it's like a Batman movie. Every Batman movie, they seem like they have to do the whole. We killed Bruce Wayne's parents. Yeah, we know you don't have, except this new one. They didn't do it. It's like, see, you can make a Batman movie, and you don't have to show them getting gunned down. You can just mention it, and it's fine.
That might be somebody's first Batman experience.
Well,
I feel bad for you, but
at this point, whatever. It's like at this point, whatever. Let it go. Let it go. I can only see those pearls go falling on the floor so many times without just rolling my eyes after the third or fourth time.
It's true though. I get so tired of that. Just like
Yeah.
the whole alleyway sequence. I'm like, come on, man. Like this is. I feel like most people know this better than they know all 50 states.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
just-
yeah.
well, for sure. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a lot of states, man. That's a lot of states.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
You're right about that. But all right. Well, we haven't had a show in quite a while because I was sick, and then I had some family things. So here we are, finally having a show. So I know we've all played a lot, over the past couple weeks to talk about. But I'm going to go first because I got a Steam Deck, and this thing. Oh, look, I got Borderlands pulled up. Let me hit the home screen there. It has the suspend feature if you want to like the Switch does. So I actually left it. I've left it in suspension for over 2 days apparently, where I was just trying out Borderlands stuff.
So the battery's pretty good.
It depends. Right now, I'm about 3 hours and 18 minutes left. But it depends on what you're running. A 2D game, it'll last probably 4 to 6 hours, depending on the game. A game like Borderlands 2 or The Witcher, it'll run for 3 or 4. But if you put a game like, say, Yakuza or trying to think of something else that I played that had a lot of graphic oomph behind it. Shadow
Did you play Sea of
Tactics was
Thieves yet
one.
on it?
Huh?
Did you play Sea of Thieves yet on it? I feel
Yep,
like that would
Sea
be-
of Thieves. That's the other one. Sea of Thieves. It only lasts maybe 2 hours at the most. But there's so much you could do with this to improve the battery life. You can set it to limit it to. You can do the thermal power, and you can limit it to how many watts you want it to have. 0 to, I think it's like, what is it? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. So a lot of times, most games I've seen, they maybe only use 6 or 7 watts. So that's running at medium settings. So it doesn't take a lot of power, but you could choose that. You could set it down, and if the game doesn't run good at 5, you can bump it up to 6. If it doesn't run good at 6, you can bump it up to 7. Or if you can just leave it on normal. See, that's a lot of people think that just because a game's not verified, it's not going to work on the Steam Deck. That's not entirely true. There's a lot of games I've thrown at it, like Batman Arkham Origin I bought for $5. It says it's unsupported. The game runs at 60 frames a second on high graphics perfectly. No problems at all. But it just doesn't have a verified setting thing on it. So, like, verified means that it'll automatically switch to, 800p. It'll automatically move these settings to that to make it most optimal to play on the Steam Deck. So, if you play a game that's unsupported or hasn't been verified yet, you might have to go in and tweak some of the settings, which is not that big a deal if you tweak stuff on a PC anyway, if you know what you're doing. But
okay.
I mean, if it's a kid and that has a Switch and you're like, here, play, they're not going to be able to do all these.
Yeah,
it's a lot. But like, what's another one? Monster Hunter Stories 2. I run this on high settings, 60 frames a second. I get 2 hours, 2.5 hours of battery life out of it. Works perfectly.
but if you bump it to like low, you'll get.
I'll get more. Right, yeah, you'll get more battery life out of it. And like I said, I could really probably go in and tweak the power settings to maybe pump less power. There's so much you could tweak with it. What's that?
I mean, that's really not that bad. I mean, what was it? The original Vita that also didn't have the greatest battery life.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to be playing, if you're going to be like hardcore gaming on that thing, you're going to have the charger with you.
Right.
The only time that you wouldn't get into like a serious gaming session while having a charger might be if you're traveling on an airplane or
Right.
something.
Mhm.
But at that point,
That's-
you're going to
that's
fall
when you
asleep after an hour or two, anyways.
Right. Yeah.
That's when he's gonna have a battery pack the size of a shoebox.
Yeah.
Pulls
I mean,
out of his carry-on.
I could clock everything. I can clock the GPU frequency. One thing I could do, I could even like bump the graphics down to low and let the Steam Deck scale things for me automatically through the system, so it'll run on low settings, but the system will pump out better graphics. I mean, it's really amazing.
Have you tried the emulators and stuff?
Yes, I have. Everything runs awesome on it. I can even run Switch games on this thing. I have not done it yet, but I've seen people playing like Breath of the Wild on it, and it runs perfectly. And in some cases, it runs better on this than it does on the Switch.
Probably loads faster.
Are you just
I'd
running?
imagine.
Are you just running RetroArch on it?
Yeah, we're running RetroArch.
Have you tried the Saturn emulation?
No, I haven't tried the Saturn emulation yet.
That's the real test, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, Dreamcast runs well, PS2 runs well, GameCube runs awesome. I sent you pictures of GameCube running on it.
Yeah, you did.
They run great. No, I haven't tried Saturn yet, but it's on there.
That's why I'm gonna get one probably.
All that stuff. The 64 gig version is what I have. It doesn't have the glass screen. It doesn't have the that kind of fancy stuff. But I put a screen protector on it. I put 500 or 400 gig memory card on it. Of course, let me see what the.
I wondered why I bought one. I was digging through my box. I'm like, why did I get a 400 gig micro SD? Oh wait.
Oh, here we
That's
go.
right.
It only gives me 360 gigs of usable space on the
Nice.
memory card. So, but like with all the emulators and everything loaded on this, 22 gigs I've still got free on the main storage. And I've been loading games off the SD card, and they load just as fast as they do off the NVMe drive. But the other thing too is it's pretty simple to upgrade this drive. You just pop the back off of it, pop the cover off of it, pop the drive out, pop a new one in, go on the website, download the Flash software to put the Steam Deck software back on it, and you're good to go. There's some work you have to do with to get the emulators to run on it. You have to go into desktop mode, so it has a full desktop Linux mode in it that you boot in and out of. So I highly recommend a Bluetooth mouse at least.
Yeah.
Which I bought one, but I mean it runs just like a Windows machine. So you got the start stop and you download this and that. xCloud works great on it. Microsoft has actually updated it so it with all the things so you could put it on here with a shortcut with all the graphics to make it look official and everything like that. Runs perfectly well on when you're streaming Steam Xbox games on it. You get about 6 hours of battery life out of the thing because all you're doing is running the internet. One thing I highly recommend is buying another charger for it because the one that comes with it has a very short cable on it. So unless you're setting within 3 feet of a charging port, you're probably going to need a longer one. So I bought a 60 watt power adapter or USB-C power adapter off of Amazon with a 10-foot USB-C cable, and it charges just as good as the official one does. So an official one's 45 watt, I think, something like that. So, yeah, the only game that I've found so far in my library that I haven't tried, or that I tried that I couldn't run, was Ghostbusters. And it would run it. Well, it would run it, but it wouldn't pick up my controller settings. So I couldn't use the controllers. No matter what Proton I ran it in, it would not recognize the controller. So the control stick and stuff. Most of them just pick it up as an Xbox controller.
Cool.
I tried, where's that? Medal of Honor Airborne. That's an old one. It picked up the controller just fine, but when I would pull the trigger to shoot, it would also jump at the same time for some strange reason. So what I would jump and shoot, which was weird. Even though they weren't bonded, it wasn't bonded to the same key. The touchpad's really cool. It's got haptic feedback on it, so you can move around with it. I played Empire at War and Civ on it, Civ 5, and it worked perfectly. I could play it like this. You could type like this if you wanted to, just moving around typing. It has haptic rumble feedback. They're not really huge. You know, it's not a hard rumble, but it's just enough to go, oh yeah, there's a little rumble there. That's cool. The triggers feel great. It feels awesome in my hand. As big as it is, it just feels great. These buttons on the back are absolutely pointless. I never use them. They're dumb.
What are they for?
Whatever you want them for. They're like
they're just
macro.
customizable.
They're just
another
customizable. I never customize them. I don't use them. They're hard to push because they're not a tactile button. They're very hard to push down. They have a nice click, but they're very hard to push down. I don't use them. Of course, I don't use them on my Xbox controller that I have either, but here we are. But yeah, I mean, I've thrown all kinds of games at it, just trying to see what would work and what wouldn't. Fable Anniversary runs great. I don't remember if anybody remembers Shatter. It was on the PlayStation 3. It was like, this game clearly says it won't work and it's unsupported. Works fine. Went in, set up the controller for it. It worked perfectly. And it runs on high settings. I played a couple of point-and-click games just to see how they work. They ran fine. Sea of Thieves plays perfectly on this. I played it 4 hours the other night just to see how it would go on here, and it worked great. I think the big thing is this feels like a controller, where the Switch has the small thumbsticks, and they feel almost like a kid's toy. These have full-size thumbsticks like a PlayStation 5 or a Xbox controller. So they just feel better under your thumb, and you have a better grip on it. Horizon Zero Dawn, I played a little bit on here. Medium settings, I get usually 50 to 60 frames a second. It looks really nice. And it loads quicker off the SD card than the PS4 loads it off the hard drive.
You would hope so.
Yeah. Sleeping Dogs is another one. Sleeping Dogs, it says it's unsupported. Played it high. I could have played it on Ultra and got 30 frames a second, but I played it on high and got 60 frames a second and works perfectly.
I wonder what it's
I would
looking
hope-
for then.
What's that, Robert?
I just wonder what it's looking for when it says it's unsupported. Is it just that
I think it's
the
just
developers haven't
because
pushed a patch for
well,
it?
yeah, because a
specifically?
lot of games, when you launch one that's verified, the Steam Deck says, "Oh, hey, we know this game. It's this game. Here's the controller layout we're going to use, and these are the settings we're going to use." So you can literally just go. You don't have to go in and adjust field of view or the display settings or whatever. It just works. Where a game like like I said, like Shatter, I went in and it worked, but it was a windowed mode. The controller wouldn't pick up, so I had to go in and adjust some of the settings and stuff like that. Adjust the video output. It just had to do a little work, but it wasn't like that big. It took 5 seconds, and boom, I was in the game playing.
Yeah,
I absolutely love this thing. This is probably the best thing that I have bought, and I would say probably since the Switch. I like it that much. It's just fun as crap to play games on, and I could just sit all day. When I originally bought it, it was like, oh, I'm just going to play those indie games that I can't play on Switch or something like that. Yeah, I'm freaking playing everything on this. If there's a Humble Bundle, I buy it, and 3/4 of the games work just fine on this. It's like, it's unbelievable. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I played some Borderlands 2 the other night just because I hadn't played a first-person shooter on it, and it worked great. Had high settings, 60 frames a second, playing Borderlands 2.
I would really hope with a lot of those older games that they do run, with
Yeah.
such fluidity, like Sleeping Dogs and Borderlands 2.
I would be
'cause-
curious to
you would
try
sure
like
hope so.
a heavy mouse-based game like Diablo, or maybe even something like Baldur's Gate or Dungeon Siege.
I haven't played any of those yet. I
Just
played.
like Fallout, maybe just to see. I'm sure it works great, but I'm I'm curious about the interface.
Yeah, what was it? Which Civ did I play?
But those do have console conversions, so I'd imagine it probably wouldn't be too much different on the Steam Deck.
The console. If you can avoid it, do not play. Don't play Baldur's Gate on the Switch.
Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, stay away from that. But I feel like
I mean,
Diablo
if you have
translated
like
pretty
I always
well.
say, if you have no other option and you only have a Switch, okay, knock yourself out.
Sure. Huh?
But it would just be interesting to know. I'm sure it's great, man. I bet you could program those like buttons on the back to do some interesting like
Yeah.
macros or like combinations of games. It'd be kind of cool.
I bet there's a lot of games that would be hard to play on there, not because they don't run, but because they have tons and tons of tiny text.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely some PC
like-
games
yeah,
that have
reading a
that.
lot,
That
like
if
on
you try to put it on that little
Big
screen,
Fallout,
yeah.
reading a lot of text.
Yeah, and a lot of times that's one of the things that's why it's not Steam verified. And when you click on it, some of them will have a question mark, and when you boot them up, it'll say, "Well, it's not verified. It checks this one, this one, this one, this one, but it doesn't check that one." And a lot of times, the thing it doesn't check is small text.
You're like enhance.
Yeah, but there's like a zoom feature. Like I forget what it is. If I click down and hit R2 or L2 and the stick,
I'm just glad
there's a
you're
zoom
with it.
feature.
I knew you were gonna like it. I just didn't know if you're gonna like it this much.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to like it this much either. But last week I only worked on the road 2 days the week of Easter, so I didn't take my Xbox with me. So I only had this. And then last week I still took this with me, but I took my Xbox. I played my Xbox one day. I played this the rest of the week. I didn't even turn the Xbox on, so it's like,
just convenient.
yeah, it was way convenient. And plus, like I said, I was just trying out games like nobody's business. Civ 5 was what I played on it, and it worked. It worked great. It does take like I said, it does take a little bit of getting used to with the trackpads, but with the little tactile feedback that you get from it, you kind of go, oh, okay, well, I don't really have to drag my finger on it that hard. It's a lot like the Steam Deck controller, but not as sensitive. I thought the Steam Deck controller was way too sensitive. And like I said, you can go in and adjust those things too. But yeah, this thing, and you could just do so much with it. You can hot swap SD cards. That's the other thing. So if you want to play games on it, you know, you have your retail games on here. I can literally right here while it's on, just pop it out, pop in my games with my emulators on it, and just take right off and play without having to turn the system off and turn it back on, which is awesome.
Wow.
Because, like I said, I've got a, well, not downloads. Where'd it go? My memory card is a 400 gig memory card with only like 360 usable, and I have 20 games installed on it. Two of them are, well, I mean, Sea of Thieves is 78 gigs, Horizon Zero Dawn is 73 gigs, and Witcher is 50 gigs. Witcher runs at a 60 frames a second, high graphics, and it makes the Switch version look like a cartoon.
Still waiting on my next gen patch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Delayed.
Yeah, it got delayed again. So.
Definitely.
That's why I was like, oh,
I think it'll still be this year, maybe because of the way that they were talking about it afterwards, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, but if you have a huge Steam library, I mean, I have, 400, and they're mostly old games. 498 games. But
I don't think I have quite that many, but I have several hundred games on Steam for sure.
And you don't want to play at the computer. This is a really cool alternative, and it works really well. Even, you remember, I know Dennis will remember, Eric, you might remember too. You remember when Sega released the Golden Axe? It was called Golden Axed, and the Streets of, it was Streets of Rage, but it was Yakuza.
Yeah.
They were only up for a couple days, and
I don't think I have the Golden Axe, but I have the other one.
Yeah, and because you can only put them on for so many times. Those are totally say they're unsupported. They work awesome on this thing, and they work perfectly. You just turn them on and go. I mean,
away you go.
This thing does have a very let me boot up Horizon Zero Dawn while we're talking and let you hear the fan noise. It does have a loud fan.
Does it?
Yeah, when it really kicks in, it has a very high pitched sound to it. So
does it get really hot in your hands?
No, it doesn't get hot in my hands, but it gets very hot right here. If it's a very graphic intensive game, and you take your hand and you put it like this, you will feel heat. It will be very, very hot. But these are far enough away from your hands that the vents are far enough away that it never gets hot over here on the
That's
side.
why they designed it that way, because I've seen like thermals of it, and all the heat is in the part where you're not holding it.
Yeah, I wish my camera could pick it up better, but it can't because it's so bright. But I mean, it's fantastic. Let me just continue here.
I think the only thing that's really made like the Switch scream. I mean, there's been a few games, but the one that's most notable to me is every time, like back when Starlink came out, that game would make the Switch like scream. Like that fan would just go insanely high, and it never stopped. The moment you booted it up to the moment you closed it down, it was on. So unless you weren't playing, it was on full blast.
Yeah.
Still nothing as bad will never be as bad as the PS4 Pro, but but the Switch would scream playing that game, like absolutely scream. And I was always worried, so I wouldn't play longer than like 45 minutes to an hour, even though I wanted to, because I was addicted to that game. But like, man, I was really worried for my Switch. Like, it would get hot, whether it was in the docked or handheld mode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my lord, forget it. forget it. That game was like a test of the hardware. Like,
Yeah, and this thing can get loud or get hot if you play it for a little while and you're really pumping out. Pumping a game. Like I'll play I'll play Traveler's Rest, and it's just a 2D game, and it hardly does anything. But yeah, I can't. I mean, you can kind of. Can you hear that?
No, I hear.
No,
I hear.
No,
nothing.
I'm sure all the
Nah.
filters are
Yeah,
filtering out
probably my
that white
filter.
fan noise.
Well, and I'm really not. I'm just at the opening
yeah.
section.
I mean,
there's
I'm
not
sure
a
it's the
lot of-
equivalent of running a game on a regular PC. If it's something that you're pushing your hardware more, the fans kick in. It's just,
Yeah, and it does. I
on
mean,
the Steam Deck instead.
it kicks in, and you can really hear it.
And because it's small, you'll hear it.
Yeah, it does. It does have a like a high pitched whine, so it's like when I'm playing with Bluetooth headset on, and Nikki's sitting over on the other side. She's I can see her looking over, like, is that your thing making that noise? Oh yeah, that's it.
It's John gonna
But
take
hey,
off.
if you pick the right game, it's a hovercraft.
Yeah,
You can
Yeah.
just like slide it across your coffee table.
yeah. I want to try God of War on it, and I want to try Jedi Fallen Order on it. Those are the two games I really want to try next on it. I just hate to buy them because they're $40 and $50 on. They'll be on sale at some point. I've
Yeah,
actually
if you wait another month and a half or so for them to do their summer sale, then they'll be on sale then, probably on Steam. Yeah.
So and that, or I'm waiting on Red Dead's another one I want to try on this. I want to try Red Dead
yeah,
Redemption.
because that's
as
what
well.
came to mind.
Red
like,
Dead will
Red
make
Dead
that fan go, I predict. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Good
it will.
lord.
Yeah, but
Forza
playing
also.
playing Sea of Thieves the other day for 4 hours, that was really hot. You could really feel the heat coming out of it. And there's a lot of times that I'll be playing like this, and I'll just kind of tip it too far, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that is hot. Let me.
Hot
It also-
electronics.
It also has that nice. It has that nice electronic heat smell coming
There it
out of
is.
it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
we all love that.
oh yeah, I love that. It's like they put it in.
hot plastic and
Yeah.
metal.
Yeah, they always put it in a perfect place because you just be like, oh, I'm playing on that. Ah, yeah. Give me a hit on that and let me finish playing it. All right. But yeah, I mean, I am totally blown away by it.
Yeah, I'm really sad I had to cancel mine, but I do still plan on getting one in the future. Hopefully they'll have like a revision or something, because you know how Steam is,
Yeah.
it's or Valve is rather, like, with the amount of Steam machines they had, and when it comes to Steam, what was it, Steam Links and stuff like that. Just I
Mhm.
mean the way they can't stick with one thing ever. They gotta
Yeah.
revise or have like 18 different models of everything. So so maybe by the time I do get around to getting one, I'd probably get whatever the next one is. But we'll see. I know they're still rolling them out little by little.
Yeah, and you can still pre-order them. They're still available for pre-order. You just won't
Yeah.
get them till next
So
year.
they're
at this
they're not
point.
readily
I-
available yet.
I had the same
No.
model-
I pre-ordered this the day the pre-orders went up in July, and
So did I,
I
yes.
just got it 3 weeks ago. It'll be 3 weeks ago this Friday, or 2 weeks ago this
Gotcha.
Friday. So
Yeah,
I was actually in the Q2 wave. The first day of Q2, I got my email for it. So it was like, I only paid, well, besides my $5 deposit, I paid $17 for this. Because I traded in my Xbox One X at GameStop when they were $330, and I bought all Steam cards for it. And put them on my account in January. So I'd had $400 sitting on my Steam, my Steam wallet since January. So games would come up. I'm like, nope, I'm not buying them because I don't want to use my Steam wallet. I'll just wait. And then when this came, I paid for it with my Steam wallet, and then whatever was left, I used PayPal for, which was like $17.
I wonder. I mean, I'm sure Valve can look, but I wonder who's holding like the most amount of like wallet balance right now on Steam. Just because like the most I've ever had at one point was probably 120.
Yeah.
So like, but I would imagine like, I mean, surely there's got to be a cap, right? Like, because I know like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo have caps. With PlayStation, if I'm not mistaken, it's $150 is the cap. With Microsoft, I think it's 500, And then with the eShop, I think it's also about $150
I
around
was gonna
there.
say
If
$20.
if there's a cap, it's got to be $1,000 because I know most people, a
Yeah.
lot of the guys who had the high end $679 one, they've done the same thing.
Oh,
Because
okay.
because like last week, Best Buy or somebody had 15% off if you buy
People would
a
ham.
Steam card, you can
Target
get
too had
15%.
like buy one. Yeah, Target had them
Yeah,
too.
so people would
I'd be
buy
willing to
those
bet it's
things.
higher
Maybe.
because they have the hardware for the VR stuff adds up
Yeah,
to
that's
like
true.
you get all of it at once. It's
That's true,
$1,000. So if you want people to be able to have a Steam wallet, it'd be at least that
Yeah.
you would think. But
Yeah, so
who knows?
John, have you
this
tried running VR on it yet?
no, it will not run VR. It specifically says I do have a couple VR games that I got in a thing, and it's
Give them
specific.
time.
Yeah,
They'll have the pack where you get the Ultra Steam Deck VR pack, and then like give them like 5-10 years.
I haven't got the HB or the USB-C TV output thing yet for it. I think I'm going to wait and I'm going to get the official one because I know some of the third-party ones from Amazon were actually bricking the system, so I didn't want to. I don't want to take a chance of bricking it, so it's like, I'll just wait till the official Steam version comes out and buy it.
Unfortunately for me, I had my pre-order queued up and I had it good, and I waited too long. I don't know. I was at work because I was waiting. I punched in my Steam cards when I was, on my lunch break, and I came back and I'd waited too long. Missed the window. I'm an idiot, so I had to reorder it. Mine's not. Mine says October.
Yeah.
22.
I think if you go with the 64 gig version, you're going to get it quicker than the higher versions. But I honestly, I don't regret buying the 64 gig version. I really don't need the extra hard drive space. I'm only running the programs off of it. I'm not running games off of it. But I mean, I've seen videos. It's easy to do. You go on eBay or Amazon and you could buy a 512 gigabyte drive for this for like $75. It's like, okay, if I really want to do that.
That's why I just, like, when I pre-ordered it, I pre-ordered the base model because I was like, well, if I need to expand it, I have the option, so I don't really need to, put in upwards of what's the most expensive model?
670
for 512
650,
gigabytes. Plus you get like anti-glare glass and a bunch of other stuff.
Which is fine, but like again, I can live without it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I've been playing handhelds since I was a child. Like, not having that. I mean, I used to play. Yeah, everyone remembers the Game Boy did not have a backlight. You remember that? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's. I know we're in a position now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. I had a little light.
I still have a little light for mine. So.
Yeah, a little twirly.
Mine was see-through purple.
Yep, that was mine.
Nice. I always wanted that one. I had a see-through green one. I had a see-through.
Oh
green
yeah,
one.
yeah.
But I did have a purple Game Boy. But yeah, no, I mean, like, like we survived those days. I know we have the technology now to do that, but again, I can live without it. It's not, the end of the world.
I just looked. 64 gigabyte Steam decks are still going for $800 to $950.
It's crazy. The case. Oh, what in the world? All right.
Probably. Actually, I think I saw 1,000 to 1,100, maybe when they first came out. But if it's been this long and they're still like 900 to 950, I mean, geez, people just wait.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know what happened. My
it died on the screen.
Yeah, it just the whole thing just went. Discord just took a. It's like it rebooted itself. It was weird. I don't know what happened there. That was strange. But yeah, no, the case, hard case. It's a nice case. I figure.
Is that like the one?
Huh?
Is that the official one?
Yeah, this is the official one. This is the one that it came with. It's a hard case. It's got this strap on the back of it with a divot for your charger and your cable, so it'll hold it in there. Yeah, I mean
I like it.
Yeah, it's a nice case. I mean, the case alone would be $40 if I bought it separately, probably. So.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with it. Way more than I thought I would be. So much so that it's the only thing I've been playing on. I did.
It is really nice.
Yeah, it's well made. They've taken everything that they were thinking about with all their other Steam stuff that they've done, and I think they just put it into that.
Yeah, there was still a demand for Oh, I just drew a blank. The controller and the other little
Yeah,
streaming
the
device.
Streambox, the Steam Link.
Steam Link. There was still a demand last year. I had.
I sold both.
I sold both mine for like $200.
Yep, that's what I sold mine for. I sold my Steam Link,
I
and my
never really
controller
used
for
it.
$200 because I wasn't
Cool
using them. I bought them
Yeah.
both for $5 on clearance.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
I tried it out; it worked real well, and then I just never used it. So it's like, well, I might as well sell it. So yeah, $200, boom, gone. But yeah, the only other thing that I played a little bit of Lego Star Wars, and I know Dennis has played quite a bit of it.
I haven't.
Have you played it too? Yeah, I didn't know how much of it.
I haven't yet. I want to, but I keep getting
Well, which version? What one you go play it on though?
I got Xbox. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
easiest for me. It's downstairs on the big TV.
Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, I picked it up digitally on Xbox. I've played it a little bit.
I was reading you can play co-op with that. It's a little trickery, but you can actually play co-op.
You can play co-op, couch co-op on it, definitely.
You can do online co-op with the PS5 version. There's like a way you have to like share your game session. Anyway.
You could probably do you do the share you could do that with any game. It's share your screen and hand the controller over. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, you could do that on. Well, I think you could maybe do that on Xbox. They have a share controller thing on Xbox too, but I've never.
So.
It's Lego Star Wars, right? I mean, you got your guys and your other guys, and
yeah, I mean, it just looks really nice on the next gen console.
I like those games, but at the same time, I get frustrated because I'm like, I need to collect everything.
See, that's me, man. Like, I need all the little Lego bits that pop down. Like, I need it all. Yeah.
I don't need it all.
I gotta get gotta have the Jedi and the Bounty Hunter.
I just need enough to unlock all the figures. Yeah, that's all I care about. I just care about getting the figures, and
the last one
I can't play them at all anymore. I played so many
get
of them.
Mad. Robert's just like, I'm done.
I tell you what, the new one is
similar that I'm just like, I can't do it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. This one's actually a lot different. It's because like. I mean, it's the same but different. It's the same concept, but like now you can go into like a third-person shooter mode on it when you're shooting with guns. So it's over the shoulder. You got a crosshair target. You're not just blatantly shooting around at something. What else was there? There was something else that was kind of different. Help me out, Dennis. I know you played it more than I have. That made it a little different than the other. Besides the third person.
Well, I mean, yeah, you do. I mean, you start to see like health bars now. It almost has like an action RPG approach where you have like health bars and you do have upgrades, and the upgrades are a lot more like impactful this time around. And you can upgrade not just your like passive stuff. Being able to collect bits that are further away from you instead of actually having to walk up to them. But stuff from just a variety of classes as well. You can just upgrade those individually as well, like villain, rebel, robot, so on and so forth. Scavenger, hunter, things like that. Like they have each of those classes has their own sort of skill tree as well. And I thought that was awesome.
And they haven't had that before, really. Like I haven't played anyone since like.
No.
The third Lego Batman or the Marvel superheroes, the first one.
Yeah, not really. No, the only thing that they had really, I mean, but it was all under the cheats label, was you would get those special red bricks, right? That would then you could use those to unlock certain sort of abilities.
Like you gain more bricks. Yeah, you could use them.
Exactly. Yeah, so times 2, times 4, times 8, times 16, so on and so forth. So, but then you also had the cheats under that list also, which is like big head mode and things like that. So.
Did they talk now to the Lego?
Yep.
The Lego characters?
Oh yeah, they've been talking since
the last Star Wars one, right?
It's been a while. I can't remember.
I like it when they just do their little.
You can turn that off. You can turn it off. Yeah, it's a setting.
Do your little brick thing and run around, make the funny faces.
And that's the awesome thing now is because they haven't had that since they started talking. Is now they have what they call a mumble mode in this game now that you can turn on. So you don't need the voice acting at all. You can just turn that on and have that old school sort of Lego experience. It's awesome.
A little like they just the expressions and like just the general stupidity.
Well, and it was like if it was a movie game, it was just the clips from the movie, so it was just like that. Now they've actually got voice actors that do it that sound a little bit like Princess Leia or Mark Hamill or something like that.
Yeah, no, it sounds really good. Yeah, it sounds really, really good. But I really like the skill tree a lot. I think it just adds more depth to it. It's not as, I guess, even though it's an open world game and they've had open world Lego games for a while now, at least open hub at the very least. It's not as linear, I suppose. You do have a lot more freedom. You can go from system to system, movie to movie on the fly. You don't have to sit there and do one movie all the way through.
Right.
If you don't want. I've finished episode one. No, sorry, episode. God, I get them confused all the time. I guess the original trilogy is now what, 4, 5, 6, right?
Yep.
So I finished episode 4 and 5. I'm halfway through 6, and then I started episode 7. However, once you get to, and I've seen a lot of people have this problem apparently. I don't know if it's patched by now. I hope it is, but obviously there's plenty of other stuff I can play, which is what I've been doing, not just the games, but just all the other movies that I can play. So it doesn't bother me right now, but it will bother me once I have no choice but to continue on from episode 7.
Right.
But there's a part where I'm sure you guys remember from the film where you go to, once you meet up with Han Solo and Chewbacca again, you end up going to I believe her name is Maz.
Maz
and Maz, yeah. So, and you gotta speak to her, right? Right before all the rebels come in, and then there's that crazy thing of like, that now what's become the iconic, traitor line,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that little area there. One of the quests is once you land on that planet, you gotta go speak to her, and but she's nowhere to be found. I spent the better part of an hour. I was like, where is she? Do I need to do something first? Again, there's so much to do now in these games, and because the areas are so open, I was just like, whatever, I'll look for her later. I just went around just getting collectibles and things like that, and doing all the little secrets, because secrets are packed in everywhere in this game now. But once I got the bulk of what I wanted to do, outside of that area, I was like, all right, let me try again. Let me go back in there. And for some people, she's been right there in the front, like next to the bar area, but then you can't speak to her, right? In other cases, like in my case, she's not there, period. And then in the more rare cases, she is there. You are able to speak to her. However, the quest doesn't start after that. So then you've spoken to her, but you still can't progress because the quest won't initiate for some reason. And the people that have found her but have been unable to speak to her have found her in different places. She's usually in front of the bar, but sometimes she's on the second floor. Like for me, it said she was on the second floor. Not there. Not there. I don't know where she is. And apparently, so it's like a weird bug, and I just can't progress. It's like you're like kind of like soft locked in that position.
Huh.
So I don't know if the patch has come out just yet, but I looked it up and there was a lot of Reddit posts of just being like, "Hey, has anyone been able to find Maz?" And people kind of sharing their experiences and whatnot. So this is not an isolated incident. This is something that's actually surprisingly frequent. Not just Reddit, but a whole bunch of forum posts and stuff like that. And even went to Twitter and saw a bunch of people talking about it too. Searching for it. So again, not an isolated incident. Some people have not had that issue. God bless them. But a lot of people have, and I can't do anything. And the only real solution that someone's found so far is just, as you would imagine, we'll just restart the game. But I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, that's not an option for me.
Yeah, no, not for me. Not for me. It's not. So
you get one shot, and if it's not good, then
nope. One opportunity. Never gonna finish it. Can't. Nope. Yep. Can't deliver on the mom spaghetti. It's too bad. So
too many games, no time.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So So it's unfortunate, but it's a great time though, man. It's Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga is hands down, I think, one of the best Lego games ever made. It's certainly one of my favorites, up there with like Lego City and probably Lego. I loved Lego Avengers personally. I thought Lego Avengers was great. Of course, not including some of the more classic ones, of course, like Lego Indiana Jones and the original Lego Star Wars and stuff like that. But in terms of like more recent stuff, since they've started, changing direction. Yeah, this is hands down one of the best, if not the best. And just the amount of content that's packed into this thing is crazy. There's just so much to do.
There's a lot.
You know?
Full
Yeah,
price,
like
I'm
just
guessing.
Yeah, it's $60.
yeah.
Unless you buy it on PlayStation, I think it's 70, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Well, the deluxe edition's 70, but yeah, on PlayStation
that's
the
right.
base game might even be 70.
Maybe.
But it's fantastic. I mean, it really is. But yeah, I really hope they patch that soon. I don't know if they've patched it just yet.
I don't
You
know.
know, it's hard to tell on Xbox because Xbox automatically patches stuff even when it's like in sleep mode, and like even because I never feel like I actually personally see a system software update. You know, like when you turn on your Switch or when you turn on your PlayStation,
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, we've detected a new, a system firmware update. Do you want to?
And Xbox just does it.
Yeah, it just does it. So like, I rarely see that. So like, and so I'll go and like, occasionally, every couple months, I'll just think about it because I did this like the other week where I was just like, I haven't updated this thing in a while, man. Let me go to settings. I go to settings. I go to update systems firmware, and it was like, you're up to date. I'm like, I guess.
Yeah.
If you say so. Like,
I always go
I've never
to.
personally seen it,
I
so-
always, when I turn on my Xbox, I always go to my downloads and see my download history of what downloaded while I was asleep or
Yeah.
the last time I was, because there's so much that downloads in the background when I'm not
Yeah.
around. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I guess I did update, didn't it?
But it's great
That's always
that it
one of my
actually.
favorite things on the PlayStation. You know, it'll
Yeah.
ping your notifications, right? It's like, oh, we
Mhm.
updated these games, or we
Yeah.
installed this
Yeah.
system update.
Except
That's
this
cool. I'm like,
last
"Hell
system
yeah, let's go."
update, I turned on my PlayStation and it hadn't updated it, and it was like, nope, you have to do the update before you could sign in.
Yep.
I'm like, what's up with that? So
Yeah,
I did
mine
it,
usually have to do manually. Like it does let me know when there is one, but even though I set it to automatic, I still have to approve it for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's not on the PlayStation 5. It hasn't been every update usually does it unless it's like some kind of major update, and I think that's what
Just
this
say,
one
yeah,
was.
I think it's all of the minor updates. It's going to automatically push theirs through. But if there's like a one that's really going to change things, they let you manually do that just in case, I don't know, it's going to brick it or something.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that it's
'Cause
not widespread.
I turned on my PlayStation today just because I hadn't had it on in a month, and turned it on. It was like, oh, nothing's up to date because you got to sign in. Well, you got to update the system software. I'm like, oh crap. So I signed in and then let it sit here for 45 minutes and update what games I have installed on there. It's like, wow, nothing patched while it was off. But yeah, I know. That's why I keep all my systems in standby for that reason. So
I usually do.
Same.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a green person when it comes to that. It takes me time.
No, convenience.
Yeah, I
100%.
prefer convenience on some things more so than I do
Don't
of
drink that
saving
Pepsi,
some
man.
electricity.
Out the window it goes.
Yeah, that's just me.
I
So.
spent $600 on my console. Please update yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah,
can you make me breakfast? Yes,
Yeah.
I can.
Oh yeah, it can. It gets hot enough. You can just put a piece of bread
It's
on there.
gonna
It'll
make
toast it.
for me. The Xbox is making toast.
Yeah, it'll do
Switching
that.
over here, making, turning on the coffee pot. I could dream.
I
Well,
want my
can't
hobbies
you-
to be automated. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to work to have fun.
Update.
Well, can't you connect like Alexa to Xbox now?
Yes.
So you can so you can use your
Xbox
Xbox to talk
update.
to her and control.
I
things, like-
absolutely do
Here's
because
Xbox.
I can. When I come downstairs to play games, I literally say turn on game room, and it turns on the lights down here. It turns on my Xbox, it turns on my TV, and it turns on whatever else, my surround sound system
Yeah,
if
that's
it's hooked up to. And I literally, all I gotta do is just sit down and turn the controller on. That's all I
Yeah.
gotta do.
I don't
That's-
have light switches anymore. It's all
Well,
automated.
Mr.
Yeah.
Modern.
Well, I can't do it with the PlayStation because what happens is if the PlayStation, it's
Something snarky about
well,
this.
no.
Turn on.
What aggravates me is to have the TV, have the PlayStation and the Xbox both recognize the TV. If you turn on the Xbox, the PlayStation will come on as well because the TV comes on. And vice versa. If you turn on the PlayStation, then the Xbox comes on because the TV comes on. So I have to choose, do I want the Xbox to do that or do I want the PlayStation to do that? Because they don't play well together on the TV for some reason. So it's the Xbox. It's not the PlayStation that's set up that way because I play the Xbox more than the PlayStation. So priorities, man. But that's what aggravates me to death because if I turn it on and then I'm like, oh well, let me turn off the PlayStation. Well, it turns off the TV and it turns off the Xbox, even though I want the Xbox to stay on. So it just got to the point where it was just too it was fighting. They were fighting against each other with the TV, so it just wasn't worth it anymore.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Dennis,
All
go.
the wars are enough. Now there's TV wars.
Oh no,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's terrible. First world problems. First world problems.
Like my PC.
Yeah. But go ahead, Dennis. Since we were talking about Lego Star Wars, you can go ahead and talk a little bit real quick about what you've been playing.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll just kind of move on from that, just because I do have a bit of a list this time around. But yeah, I mean, just to summarize, Lego Star Wars, the new one, it's fantastic. It's unlike any other Lego game. If you like Lego games in general, do yourself a favor and get it. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Like usually, and I talked to you about this too, John. Like usually, you and I wait for Lego games.
Yeah, I
like,
usually do.
Yeah, like just dirt cheap on sale.
Once reviews came out, though, I couldn't do it. It was like,
yeah,
I really want
all
to
the
play
reviews
that
were
now.
great. Yeah, my girlfriend surprised me with it, so it was because I was just gonna wait personally, but then I started laughing because when I got on the Xbox, I saw that it said friends that I've played, and I saw you on it, and I was like, there he goes, he did it.
Yep,
John did it.
Yep, I did it.
Wait.
I did it.
Oh, I wasn't planning on buying it either, but I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, Lego Star Wars is a fantastic game, and again, if you like Lego games in general, this is unlike any of the rest. And do yourself a favor, get it. It's great. But yeah, outside of that, I played something on Annapurna, which I'm sure we're all familiar with at this point. They released a new game recently called A Memoir Blue. And it did release day and date on Xbox Game Pass, and I love Annapurna, so like anything that they put out, I want to try right
Day
away
one.
and play. Yeah, it's always day one for me. I love them; they're great.
Whoa.
What was that?
No, nothing. I'm just chiming in, listening to you.
Oh, okay. So, but yeah, more recently, I think the last game we played recently, that when we talked about Annapurna was The Artful Escape, which is fantastic. So that was the last Annapurna game I played, I believe. But yeah, Memoir Blue just came out, and it's very short. I mean, that game can't be longer than. How long did it take for you, John? Maybe like
I
an hour,
100%ed it in. Well, hang on, I'll tell you, because I don't remember. It was about an hour and a half, maybe something like that. But let me check and give you the official.
Okay. Okay.
We wouldn't want unofficial numbers.
Yeah,
here,
I don't want to fib and make everybody think that I was just flying through the game.
I want to hear the speculative numbers.
I want to say it was an hour, but an hour and a half. But let me see.
Yeah, that sounds right. Honestly, it's about the length of a movie, give or take. And
hour and
honestly,
20 minutes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
that makes sense.
it was a good hour and 20 minutes. It was a good game.
It was a solid. Yeah, no, it was really solid. A great experience. It is definitely unorthodox. Like, don't go in expecting, it's not a walking simulator. It's not really a point and click either. I don't know. It was super unique, honestly, because it was almost like the most elaborate visual novel I've ever played.
Yeah.
Because the game sort of plays itself, but there are some. I mean, would you even call it puzzle elements? It wasn't even really puzzle.
No,
it was just like connect the dots.
Yeah,
really.
it was just like kind of move this and that to move the story
Yeah.
along. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really all it was.
Yeah, so like that's really all it was, and you just kind of do that. I mean, there were some moments where you had to sort of, I suppose, think, but otherwise, it was a pretty straightforward linear story that it kind of conveys its narrative through entirely through imagery, right? There's no voice acting or anything like that. There's very little to read even. Everything is pretty much told through imagery, and you just have to essentially sort of break down and deduce the story and the emotions from there. So, but it was fantastic. I enjoyed it so much. I played it through 3 times. Again, not long. So the following 2 times I played, I sped right through it. They couldn't have been longer than like 20-minute sessions once I actually like ran through it. But since I knew what to do at that point. But yeah, my first initial run was like maybe about an hour and a half. But I think my total play time is probably anywhere between like 2 to 3 hours, just because again I was trying to get all the achievements after that, which were very straightforward. Because my first playthrough was just very much, all right, just play through the game. Don't be bothered by achievements. Don't be distracted by that. Just sit, enjoy it, take it in, revel in it.
See, I did the exact opposite. I just got all the achievements the first time and went, okay,
Yeah.
I don't have to play it again.
Right.
I'm done.
Uh,
It's the first time I downloaded a game. It took me 10 minutes to download it, an hour and a half to play it, and then 10 minutes to delete it. It was like 2 hours. I was done. Yeah, I downloaded, played it, and deleted it. It was like, yep, this is great. I like this. This is.
Yeah. I wish more was like that.
Yeah,
honestly.
I do too. It's
Yeah.
like,
Honestly, I feel like the last thing we probably played that was probably similar to that was probably what, Unpacking.
yeah, Unpacking was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, which phenomenal game. But anyways, but yeah, no, Memoir Blue. I mean, I ended up getting all the achievements for it. I don't know, 100%ed it, if that's what you want to call it on Xbox. I just kind of used the generalized term to platinum. I got the
Yeah.
platinum on it, So even if it's on Xbox, but yeah, no, it was fantastic, and yeah, again, a little odd at first. So you might not understand the story the first time around, but you kind of get the gist of it, and
Yeah.
it's super unique. I mean, I really haven't played anything like it. Again, it was like one of the most elaborate visual novels, if you will, that I've probably ever played, because it was more in line with that. But the gameplay elements were more like a connect the dots thing, because you weren't really ever moving the character per se. You were just kind of manipulating the environment.
Mhm.
And then once you got it right, then the sort of next sequence would sort of naturally trigger after that. So, but yeah, Memoir Blue, Annapurna, Xbox Game Pass, check it out. It's awesome if you want a nice, short and sweet game and an easy 1,000 gamer points.
Yep.
So, but yeah, after that, been playing a little bit of Tormented Souls. I played that probably over the course of the last 2 weeks, wrote a review on that, and Tormented Souls is very much akin to the older survival horror games of like the late 90s, early 2000s. We're talking like OG Resident Evil, right? OG Silent Hill. So you're gonna have those fixed camera angles, tank controls. However, the tank controls, they're not like mandated. They are optional, so you can just use your left thumbstick to move around with a full 360 control scheme. So but yeah, it's it kind of harkens back to that era of gaming, and I missed it. I mean, I liked it a lot. It was definitely I called it a passionate but faulty love letter in my review. And reason being is because you can see they put a lot of time, effort, and love into this game, and you can tell that this was a game that was definitely, without a doubt, just wearing all its inspirations on its sleeve, right? Like it was proud of, the legacy behind it and wanted to sort of celebrate that as a whole. So, um, and it did that very, very well. However, the game almost in a lot of ways is almost too authentic, because it doesn't take a lot of the more modern quality of life um, mechanics and stuff that we sort of take for granted now. And like for example, it uses a limited save system, and by limited save I mean something similar to, again, like Resident Evil, where they had ink ribbons, right, like in the original Resident Evil games. But they use more like tapes in this one, and on a tape recorder, but they are few and far between. So like, even though my initial instinct the moment I find one is to, oh my god, save, because I haven't saved in the last hour, you know, because they're so rare and hard to find, I still hold on to it for as long as I can, right? Until like I'm at that point where I'm just like, no, okay, I've done too much. Like I absolutely need to save, or I'm on the verge of death. I don't want to do all that over again. Let me save, you know. Um, so even then it's like, okay, I've done too much. So there's a big, like, intense nature behind it that sort of, again, is reminiscent to that time. But I feel like with the ink ribbon system, like I never felt stressed personally. Like I always had at least 2 or 3 in tow, on me. So I mean, like, yeah, they were limited, but again, like it was never an issue still with ink ribbons. But this is like, man, like you go through a lot, and if you die, there's That's a lot of progress that's just lost, you know.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that it would be sort of similar to kind of like how some games do it. I guess in particular roguelites, where like you're gonna be expected to die. But at least smaller things like collectibles or upgrades, you'll keep those. You know, now you'll have to start back to the beginning of whenever your last save was, but you know, certain key items, not necessarily items. So like if you found 6 potions, you know, and you die, you're gonna lose all 6 of those potions. But at least the more important things, right? Like just key items and passive upgrades and stuff like that. They let you keep, right? So that way, you know, on your next run, you can maybe have a little bit of a better chance, and then on your next run after that, a little bit more of a better chance, and you know, so on and so forth. Something to, you know, well, just like roguelite, something like, you know, Hades is always the first thing that comes to mind, right? So where you know you're expected to die multiple times, but at least you can, you know, you keep your crystals and things like that, and then you can just upgrade your abilities from there. So that way you have a better chance of survival the next time around. That's not the case here. So like, you know, if you find a key to go into a room, you know, or if you know, have a very important cutscene that happens that you think would not necessarily auto save, but at least keep track of that progress, no, it's too bad. Because if you die after that, you have to go through all that over again. So there's a lot of frustrations that come with that, and I'm like, look, this is a little too authentic, you know. So like, this is only gonna be for a set specific demographic, and I think you're kind of hurting, you know, not necessarily your chances to be successful, because you can still be successful even for a very limited demographic. We've seen that happen all the time, but it's there's a reason why we don't see those types of games anymore, and it's not because I don't think people want to make those games, but there's a set nature to the mechanics that just don't translate well anymore in this day and age with how the technology has grown and how video games have grown. So there's a lot that Tormented Souls does that, again, is super genuine, super authentic, and very passionate of the games that, you know, created a legacy and created, you know, the draw and the appeal and the popularity of the genre that it has today. You know, stuff like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Haunting Grounds, Rule of Rose, Eternal Darkness, right? The list goes on and on. Um, but again, you need to find that fine balance of like, look, it's 2022 now. You know what I mean? So if I'm gonna play these old games, I'm just gonna go back and play the old games. Like, you know, even though you have this new sort of environment, if it doesn't feel much different, I don't really want to waste my time, I guess, you know, so to say. So, um, but overall, I did like it a lot. And the environment was fantastic. Like you run around this little mansion slash ward, and the puzzles are really well done. Uh, and yeah, now on the Switch, it doesn't look very good. It does look like a PS2 game. I know a lot of people say that as a joke, you know, to be like, "Oh, look how bad those graphics are." But this literally, like, if you were to side by side compare this with an actual PS2 game, it would look like a PS2 game. However, this is one of those rare cases where on the Switch in particular, it almost does it a sort of favor because, again, because it's so genuine and reminiscent of those older games, I do feel like I'm playing almost like a remastered version of one of those older games, right? So it's kind of cool to a
Does it
degree.
feel
It's one
more
of,
like a decision that they did, or is it just the production value wasn't there?
I think this is primarily just the limitations of the hardware because if you look at it on Steam and on Xbox and I think it's on PlayStation as well, it actually looks very pretty. Again, it's not going to blow you away, but the lighting looks good and everything looks, I mean, you know, more modern is probably the better word to use, more contemporary. But I do think the way that it looks on Switch, the sort of visual fidelity being downgraded to such a not necessarily a severe uh place, but definitely a noticeable hit. That I think it was just the limitations of the hardware. But otherwise, like it looks crisp when you play it in handheld mode. Like it actually looks really crisp. You start to really notice the quality difference on like a TV though, and on a bigger screen. But playing on an OLED, I mean, the game runs perfectly fine, and it does look pretty solid on an OLED. Definitely not the worst game I've seen, visually. Far from it, actually. And again, this is one of those rare cases where I feel like because, it is sort of a love letter to those types of games, it almost is to its benefit, So it's one of those rare cases where like, hey, the graphics are worse, but it still looks okay. Like it still works for what it is. It works to its favor. They took advantage of the lesser graphics, right?
Right.
It almost complemented it in a weird way. Again, very rare cases. It's not always the case. But yeah, if you're looking for something very, very old school, survival old school, it's a great game. But again, this game is not going to hold your hand. It's not going to ask for your forgiveness. So, be prepared, to face, certain death. Because I mean, you can go through the game without dying for sure. But if you get a little too adventurous or a little too cocky with your once again very limited storage or inventory space, because you will have to do a lot of resource management like you did in the older games, you are going to pay the price. So you got to have a little bit of patience while you're playing this game. But otherwise, it is a very, very good game. But it's not going to be for everyone. So yeah. In addition to that, I put Tunic back on here, even though I played it and talked about it last time. But I just wanted to put it back on here to say I beat it. So
Yay! We
I
did
beat
it.
Tunic. Yeah, we did it. Tunic, fantastic, man. One of my favorite games I think to come out in years. I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful game. And again, I don't think this is a game I probably would have touched if it wasn't for Xbox Game Pass. I feel like we talk about Xbox Game Pass a lot on the podcast, but I mean, it's worth mentioning that like this is a service that is just so wonderful and just like it exposes you to games that you otherwise not necessarily wouldn't be interested in, but you probably hold out on, right? Or just wait for a sale on, but because it's there, you're just like, why not? Let me try it,
Yeah, see, with me though, Tunic, the minute I saw it, it's like I was going to buy it. I still plan on buying it.
yeah.
I'm holding off just in case there's a
Somebody
physical
will put out a
release of
copy.
it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm holding off on. But yeah, I mean, I was. They kept going. I followed the developer on Twitter, and she kept going. It's going to release on this date. I'm like, why don't I have a pre-order up? It's going to release on this date. Why don't I have a pre-order up? Oh, it's going to be on Game Pass. That's why. Oh, okay. Well, it's like
yeah, and if there's any game that deserves a physical release, that's that. Because I think you can make a really nice collector's edition of that too. Of course, number one, that manual. Gotta have a physical version of that manual. Beautiful, beautiful manual. Beautiful manual. However, I feel like that would kind of do, for people who haven't played Tunic yet, that might be a disservice just because like part of the fun and the mystery and the exploration of Tunic comes from collecting those pages, because there's a lot of mystery in that world. So if you have a physical version of that manual, the problem is you could just go to page.
Yeah, you'd already have it all figured out. So.
Exactly. So that might be sort of a disservice. But for people who have already played the game, like us, it would be amazing.
Yeah.
It would be amazing. I absolutely love that manual. But I do feel like it would, again, be disadvantageous or advantageous, depending on how you look at it, to people who haven't played the game yet, just because, like, again, you're going to lose a little bit of appreciation for that wonder and exploration and that mystery if you already have all the pages there right in front of you physically. So, but yeah, because again, I mean, I said this on the last podcast, where like playing Tunic was like learning a new language, and like it was just absolutely fantastic. There's a lot that's going to confuse you, right? That's a lot that's not going to make sense. But once it does, it's just like it just blows your mind, and it's just so beautifully put together, and the way it all comes together is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I beat it. It's an incredible, incredible game. One of my favorite games to come out in the last couple of years. And I know we talked on the last podcast also that we played. John, you said you played an early, or was it Eric? You played an early demo.
I played it early demo. I did. I played it.
I saw it at PAX, but I never got a chance to play it. But I was always interested in it.
Yeah, I played it at GDEX two or 3 years ago in Columbus. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I got my first taste of it through Ludonarracon, which was a virtual indie event that happened last summer. and so I got sent a personal demo for that, a press demo, and played a little bit of it on PC, loved it. But then shortly after, I think they had a public demo that you could get for a limited time on Xbox.
Yep.
And but that for me personally was, I think John, you said it was okay for you, but for me,
Yeah.
it was broken, man. They still had like the PC like UI and everything. I was like, what in the world? This is a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit worried. But it was ended up being just an absolutely incredible game. Like once the full version came out, I couldn't put it down, man. I couldn't put it down. It's just
Yeah.
that influence of like, playing like Zelda, but having a sort of feeling that is very reminiscent of like Fez, and with a little bit of like, I don't know. I mean, it really is like that nice balance of like Fez and let's just say like A Link Between Worlds. Really, it's
Yeah.
just such a wonderful, wonderful game. Like man, like when we do the top 10, assuming there's not any other like crazy amount of games that come out later this year, but so far, I mean, we're in the fourth month, so we're already a third of the way there. But like when we do,
Man, that's
our
crazy
top
to think
10,
about.
I know
Yeah.
it is crazy.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
But once we do our top 10 later this at the end of the year on the podcast, I promise you, Tunic will probably be on there. I promise.
Yeah, I know it will be
I
for
promise.
me. Yeah, I know it'll
Yeah.
be. Unless I can't. I mean, I know there'll be a lot of games come out, but I can't imagine there being 9 more games that I think are better than it, or 10 more games that I think are better than it.
Yeah, I'm sure something will come out, but we'll see. We'll see as the year goes on. I mean, of course, there's probably still going to be stuff that's coming out this year that hasn't even been announced
Yeah,
yet.
true.
Stuff that's surprise releases and things like that. That happens all the time. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, beat Tunic. So, round of applause for that. That was an incredible game. And yeah, if you have Xbox Game Pass and you like stuff like Fez, and older Zelda games, do yourself a favor, play it, man. It is it's one of those chef's kiss moments,
Yeah,
like types
it
of
really
games.
is.
Beautiful,
It's worth a
beautiful
play.
game. Yeah, and in addition to that, also via Xbox Game Pass, started playing a game called Echo Generation. I liked it, but I sort of started falling off because this game was way too grindy, man. Like it again, a beautiful art style. Like if you've seen it, it's got this voxel art style that is, and oh my God, when you play it in 4K on a big screen TV, the game is beautiful. They don't look like graphics; they actually look like actual like blocks, that like on your screen. It's fantastic. So the art direction is just magnificent in that game. And I was getting into the story. It has very much like a Stranger Things vibe, and I think the game takes place in like the 90s, not necessarily, or like late 80s, early 90s, and yeah, you just gather a couple of friends, and you just start going through this town, and there's like you're writing a story, like the sci-fi story about aliens, but then like your story you realize is sort of coming to life, and you're like, what in the world? It reminded me a lot of God, what's that game? Saturday Night RPG?
Yeah,
Or Saturday Morning RPG?
Saturday morning
Right?
RPG.
Saturday
Saturday
morning
morning. Yep.
RPG.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's reminded me almost to the T of that game, but more tailored to like 90s and stuff. And yeah, and of course the art direction's different, but almost like that. So if you like Saturday Morning RPG, chances are you're gonna love Echo Generation. So Saturday Morning RPG meets maybe like with a little sprinkling of like Stranger Things, right? So Echo Generation, and just everything about it, I actually loved. However, gameplay wise, even though it was fine at first, started getting a little too grindy for me, and it got to a point where I'm just like, look, I just want to move on. Like come on, like I want to experience this world, this story. This whole thing is beautiful, and it got grindy. Again, I need to emphasize though, or clear, it's grindy. It's not hard. It's just grindy.
Just
So like
that's your time.
exactly, like it's so time consuming, right? And it's just like God, man, like I've been facing these
Yeah.
damn raccoons for like 40 minutes because I'm only. I mean,
That's a shame because it sounds like the game is just really getting in the way of itself and
it is.
stopping
It
you
is.
from enjoying it.
It is, and that's the perfect way to put it. It is getting in the way of itself. But you literally fight raccoons. I mean, you fight things in the overworld and stuff like that. And there's these talking raccoons that are just like, "Hey, man, we're not gonna let
Don't
you pass."
underestimate those raccoons, man.
Well,
I know. These little
raccoons
trash
can
pandas, man.
they can be jerks.
Yeah. But these raccoons literally just keep popping out of nowhere. They're just like, hey, we're not gonna let you through, man, unless you like give us like your trash. And like, I don't have any trash on me. Like, well, I see one with 2 legs right now. They just start talking, all it's so savage and stuff, and it's crazy. It's the writing is great. Honestly, everything about that game is great. It's just, except for the grindiness, and it's hard for me to get the willpower to just keep going because again, it's exhausting. And I'm someone who plays a lot of RPGs, so grind is not an issue. However, when you're grinding the same raccoons over and over again for 12 experience and you need about 350 experience to get to the next level with a growing allotment per level, I can't. So let's just say you're on level 4, you're trying to go to level 5, right? You need 300 experience to go to level 5, right? Okay, once you reach level 5, now you need 400 experience, then 500 experience, so on and so forth. And when I can't progress because I got this big thing in front of me, but I can't beat it because it's killing me in 2 hits, because I don't have the proper HP.
I can only kill so many wild boars in the opening land of WoW.
I don't know, man. It just sounds like you need to get good,
Ow! Wow! Jeez! Oh, that was harsh, man.
Who's the raccoon now?
Yeah,
Ooh,
really.
To clarify, I did end up, beating the boss that I'm talking about, but it's one of those things where it just takes so much time where it's just like, is it worth it? Genuinely, is it worth it? Because I feel like you're artificially prolonging the game that way, because here you could have a great 2-hour game, but now you have an 8-hour game where I spend 6 hours of those 8 hours purely trying to get my level up.
Yeah.
And that to me is not a good use of your game, and respecting the player's time as well, because you're putting a lot of investment into this that has there's a very little return on investment, right? So, and that can be it can feel demeaning. It can feel sort of, just, yeah, I don't know. It just feels very, because of how exhausting it is. You're just very unmotivated.
Just grinding for grinding's sake.
Yeah.
And to be clear, grinding's not a bad thing. And
no, not at all.
Grinding,
not at all.
But it should always be for like that optional, like, I want to go above and beyond because I've loved this game, so much that I want to give it my time. But it shouldn't 100%. Be the requirement to experience the meat and potatoes.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't have been said more perfect. I mean, really, that is, to summarize it, basically that, right? And it's just so unfortunate because, again, I've been playing RPGs my whole life. Grinding is not a problem, but just like Rob eloquently put, just you're grinding for grinding's sake, right? You're not grinding because you're choosing to, because again, I've spent hours just grinding, right? Because I want to get my Pokemon to level 100, right? Or I want to get my Dragon Quest party, I want to feel like a god, right? I did it in Octopath Traveler. I spent 3 hours, probably per session, just doing nothing but grinding. Didn't have to. I could have kept going, but I like challenging myself, fighting the bigger enemies, right? Ones that will give me either good drops or, a decent amount of experience to get me, closer to where I would feel personally more comfortable, where I can just handle the next couple of hours, no problem, just, wipe the dust off my hands. So, but yeah, this is, it's just so unfortunate. And it's given me very little motivation to keep going, even though it's a beautiful game and I'm sure it's a great game. But again, it's, I don't really have the will to keep going. And to make things even crazier, I saw in some of the reviews, people were saying that apparently the game had to get patched because a lot of the enemies that you fought did not respawn. They were one and done. So now they respawn. I'm like, how were you even supposed to go through this game then? If every enemy was a one and done, because then you'd be fighting this boss at a level 3 instead of the level 5 or 6 that I'm at. And like how do you do that? Because I'm being, tactical also, right? Where it's like, all right, I'll use a big move that will take some MP, and then he'll hit me for this much, and I'm all, just doing all this math in my head. Okay, well, I have a couple of cookies because you just, there's all this food that you pick up, and that gives you, that replenishes HP, right? So I'm like, all right, well, I'm set on this. Like, I can survive this, at the level that I'm at, won't be an issue. But like, my God, man, just like, well, why? That just blew my mind when I was reading some of the early reviews of just like, people just being like, man, this game, I'm updating my review because, they did patch it and fixed, added a lot of quality of life things, like mainly respawn respawning enemies because they did not respawn before. When they were dead, they were dead. That was it. That was it, and that was a lot of people's biggest complaint. Where it's just like, how do you
Thanks.
expect me to get stronger, or even face this thing? When you're not giving me the ability to even train.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Otherwise, like if that wasn't such a thing, man, I would have nothing but nice things to say about this game, and I probably would have beaten this game by now. But it's a little too grindy. There's very little return on investment, very little reward, and yeah, it's unfortunate. But for those that can stick with it, I have no doubt you're gonna love it. And it's a beautiful game. The art style is fantastic, and the writing's great. So I'm just gonna run through these last couple. Started playing Judgment again. I played it years ago when it came out on PlayStation 4, but started playing it on the Series X, and yeah, it's great to be back in, man. Just because I love Ryuga Gotoku Studios. I mean, they're an incredible team. And,
I haven't jumped into Judgment yet, but every time it's on sale, I'm like, I need to get this, but I don't know why I can't pull the trigger. I don't remember. Was it that the guy like left the studio or something, and
after he got 1 and 2 done,
yeah. And so like I don't want to start it and then love it and then be upset that he's not with it anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah. I bought both of them day one physically, but I've yet to play them yet. But I do that with those games. It's like I got to buy them day one just because it's like I feel obligated to buy them because I know I'm going to buy them anyway. But I feel obligated to buy them day one because it's like, well, if I don't, they'll never put them on here again.
Yeah. But yeah, but Judgment is fantastic. I mean, if you're a fan of Yakuza, it goes without saying you're gonna love Judgment. And but now that Yakuza, because I think they said Like a Dragon and onwards from now on, it is gonna be that sort of turn-based RPG style.
Yeah.
So Judgment is kind of the new Yakuza, if you will, if you want that sort of beat 'em up brawler.
And that's why I didn't jump into Like a Dragon. Is even though it does kind of continue on that story in its own way, I didn't really think I would care so much for the
Like a Dragon is so good.
It is,
and
amazing.
I hear that.
I like it better than the other ones because I've tried a couple of Yakuza games and never got dented in. I put like well over 100 hours into Like a Dragon because of that. Because you get to get a little bit more in the nitty gritty of the goofy moves and stuff when you can get to do everybody and you're doing it like the turn-based RPG thing, and they have fun with it, and it gets goofier the further into the game you get. It's so much fun.
Yeah, the game is fantastic.
And so
I can't recommend Like a Dragon enough.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
It is.
Like a Dragon.
Well, maybe I'll try that.
Yep. And but yeah, no, I mean it's like Yakuza Like a Dragon is fantastic. But even as someone who's played all the other Yakuzas, also, it's unfortunate unfortunate is not the best word, but it's a little jarring, let me say that, to deal with now a turn-based sort of fight system, right? But it works. It works honestly, and Ichigo he's a big RPG fan anyway, so it just kind of works for like him and his background, and
that's why I think it works because they fit it to a character. If they tried to just throw it in with all the characters from previous games and stuff, then it would be more of a problem, maybe. But it's almost like it's just a new game, but they keep the Yakuza name on it for name recognition.
Right.
Pretty much, and it's fantastic. I loved it, and I would say give it a shot. I think you're still gonna love it, Robert. Like I genuinely think you're still gonna love it. But yeah, it might take a second to get used to, but it's not an overly complex system either. I mean, they've even designed it in a way where it's just like, look, it's if you still want to spam buttons as if you were playing old Yakuza, you can still do that here, and but it did just be turn-based.
Very quick turn-based systems, for sure.
Basically. Yeah.
You're not sitting there agonizing over choices very much. You're pretty much just like ding, 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 go, 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 and then the encounter's done.
Exactly. But yeah, Judgment's kind of taken that new sort of perspective of how Yakuza used to be, and of course you have those the detective aspect of it. So it's just like a super fleshed out Yakuza meets Ace Attorney, and or Professor Layton, and it's fantastic, man. I mean, once again, you're in Kamurocho, and it's a stunning city that has just so much depth to it, and yeah, the the story gets juicy. It's wonderful, and everything is just so authentically Japanese. I mean, they do such a good job recreating the real place, which is Kabukicho, you know. So uh, so yeah, but it's a wonderful, wonderful game, and I've been playing that on the Series X, and it looks crisp, man. Like in 4K, like I didn't think they would enhance much, but like coming from the
Mhm.
PS4 version, like I'm like okay, all right, you definitely like up to the res because this looks crisp.
Yeah.
Again, it's not gonna blow you away, but when you compare the PS4 version to the Series X version, oh yeah, no, it's like you definitely see it. It's clean. It is
Yeah.
clean. It's crisp, and game runs beautifully too. Absolutely beautiful. Um, in addition to that, played through a game called Simulacra, which I've seen over the course of the last couple years. I've seen some YouTubers play it, and I know it's pretty popular on the as a mobile game on the telephone. But it's one of those like text-based adventures, but not how you're used to of like, this is an Oregon Trail, right? Like this is or some older Sierra games.
Right.
Like it's text-based as in literally like you're texting somebody, like on a phone, right? And you have a gallery to look through and a web browser and everything like that. But there's a story being told through the messages that you exchange, and it's insane. Like, and I've played other games like that before, and it's they can be hit or miss a lot of the time. Simulacra was good, but maybe not the best place to start if you're looking to getting into those games. I would definitely try playing a game like that on your phone first, even if you're not into mobile games. At least give one of those games a try on your phone first, something like Sentence
Mm.
or
I'm always looking for a mobile game to get into, but none of them ever catch me. Even when I try, I just can't stick to them.
yeah, just try that because I think because it feels very natural when you play it, right? Because I mean, you're just playing the game how you would normally use your phone, right? Texting, right? Calling, um, web browsing, so on and so forth. Only you're doing it through a certain interface that again is familiar, but it's through it's gameplay. It's really interesting. But yeah, I'd highly recommend either Sentence, Duskwood, or there's a game called Seven something.
Hmm.
But they're all like horror based. I don't know how you would make a game like that not horror based. I mean, I guess you could. You could probably make. I feel like they wouldn't be as exciting. I don't know, but they're all horror games. Or well, maybe not horror game. Well, either
Interactive
horror.
stories.
Well, I mean that. Yeah, but like but they're scary though, right? Or like very they make you uncomfortable because they can be like a mystery or a thriller, right? Where it's like, oh, one of my friends got lost. Like in the case of Simulacra, where it's just like, oh, like it starts getting more horror based down the line, but at first it kind of becomes more of a mystery thriller, right? Where it's just like, hey, this phone showed up on my doorstep. I don't know whose phone it is, but I have access to the lock. So you get into it, and then you start, people keep messaging you like, "Hey, where are you?" And it's just like, "Hey, I'm not this person you're looking for." It's like, "Okay, well, who are you? What are you doing with her phone?" And you start exchanging her, messages like that, where she's like, "Look, you have her phone. Maybe you can find information of where she last went, stuff like that." And it's crazy. It's like a crazy detective. Sometimes they're murder mysteries, sometimes they're just straight up mysteries, thrillers, and then they turn into like crazy horror, like way down the line. So. But yeah, no, it's super interesting. Simulacra on the Xbox wasn't like the best, but it was good for what it was. I think I like the other ones that I play on mobile just a little bit better, like Sentence, like Duskwood, which I highly recommend those. But but yeah, if you're into if you're looking for something new even to play, look at stuff like that. And I know Steam has a lot of them too. So, Xbox doesn't have too many. I think console, just because it's weird to play a game like that on a console, but
Yeah.
it worked. I think they translated it pretty well for the most part. But you're going to see a lot of those games really shine either on mobile or on PC because of the use of the mouse and keyboard, right? Games even like Her Story or Telling Lies and things like that, where you have to go kind of through a database. It just feels more natural to be typing on a keyboard and using a mouse to go through the interface of what is literally a Windows desktop.
Mm.
It doesn't feel as natural when you're doing something like that on a with a controller. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel right. So,
Yeah.
um, but But yeah, and then the last game I played on my list here is Grow Song of the Evertree. Phenomenal game. It is by the developers of Yonder, the Cloud Catcher Chronicles.
Okay, yeah.
Which we did a review for on the Gamers Lounge. I think it was one of my first reviews actually. Once I joined the team actually on the Gamers Lounge, and it was fantastic. I mean, I loved Yonder, loved it. I mean, what a beautiful, wonderful game, and this is just as good. And those guys really just nail. I think they're called Prideful Sloth is the name of the developers. They really just sort of nail just that feeling of just making a cathartic experience that is calming, serene, tranquil, right? And going at your own pace, never feeling pressured to hurry up and do these tasks. Just explore this beautiful world and do so in this lovely environment with really nice music. It's on sale now, or it was on sale about 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago. But even if it's not on sale, it's normally $25, and which is well worth the price of that game. And it's pretty too. I've been playing it on Xbox, played a little bit on Switch when the game initially came out, like maybe 3 months ago, and game looks and runs great there as well. But on the Xbox, where you can have like the full nature of what it's trying to show you, so you do get those crisp graphics, the bloom, the depth of field, the shading, everything like that, and just a lot more foliage. And it's just it's such a beautiful world. Again, it's very similar to Yonder in a lot of ways, but with some more quality of life things added to it that Yonder didn't do so well. Like Yonder had a lot of like single use items. Like for example, if you wanted to change your hair and you found hair dye, you could only use it once. Now all of that is unlimited, and I think it was the same with like certain accessories and things like that. So. But yeah, but now everything has unlimited use, so you can switch on the fly to your liking, not feel pressured of losing anything. I mean, the game really is just. I feel so calm playing it, but sometimes I feel too calm because I have literally, after an hour or two of playing that game straight, I have literally fallen asleep on the couch.
That's so good. We need more of that.
Yeah, that's the game you want to play before you go to bed, then, instead of.
And that's how I've been playing it. Is basically right before I go to bed. So it works out for the most part.
I usually put on a Digital Foundries video and start to watch that, and then they start into the technical stuff, and I start to. All right, let me set my phone and think. Okay, I'll watch the rest of it tomorrow.
I usually get through like one episode of The Simpsons, and I'm not done.
I read a book.
Yep,
that usually
same here.
Is a book, but...
Simpsons or the book?
What the book? Like for me, a book. Yeah. But yeah, Grow Song of the Evertree. If you loved Yonder, you're gonna absolutely be in love with Grow.
I didn't realize that.
Kind of looks like looks like a very 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 relaxing game to play. It looks very low stress.
Yeah, very much. So, and then lastly, I'm going to get through it, is not even a game, but it is related to a game. It is Halo, but not the game, the TV series on Paramount Plus. And I don't know if any of you guys been watching it, man, but I've been like really impressed.
I watched the first episode.
2 episodes.
I decided to wait until 3 or 4 more come out. I felt like I'd rather binge it than.
Yeah, once I got through the second episode, I did not want to wait anymore, so I'm just
That's a smart thing. That's a smart thing to do. So like I watched the first 3 episodes, and then I watched 4 and 5 by themselves because now I'm all caught up now where I have to wait weekly, and it's just like, man, I'm so into that show now. Like that show is like a genuinely good sci-fi story. Never mind the Halo stuff.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm enjoying it more as like a sci-fi show than a Halo show. Like I like all the references, like the sound effects and all of that stuff, but I'm gonna be one of those guys that is just gonna hate to hate, but I hate that they had him take off his helmet. I was like,
me too.
One, I don't like that actor, and I knew it was him, and I'm like, I can pretend it's not him. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, but then literally,
it's like Pedro Pascal. Yeah, it's like, oh, I don't need to see his face. I know it's him under there. I don't need to see it. And then he takes off his mask.
Already,
it's like,
already the wrong voice. So, whatever, fine, okay. Guy's getting old, I get it. But then he takes off the mask, and I'm like, why do you do this to me?
Yeah.
Well,
at least
and that's
they
what I
kept
like
Cortana the
about
same.
it. That's what I like about it is it has nothing to do with the game other than it's Halo and it's in the Halo universe. They didn't
Yeah.
try to follow the story whatsoever. It's just this is their take on what Halo would be. And
Well, it
I'm fine
seems like
with
it would take place way in the future
Yeah.
than the games. So,
yeah,
or I'm sorry, in
Well-
the past, not the future, but
Well, I think that's the benefit to, I think any sort of sci-fi, right? Especially if it takes place in space, where it's just like Halo honestly can go on forever, right? Just like Star Wars has, where it's just like if you run out of a story wherever you're at, just be like, I'm going to a new planet, and then just have a new antagonist there,
yeah.
or just a new solar system. Be like, oh, you run the solar system? Oh my God, you're the Thanos of this area? Oh my God, it's just like just move, go somewhere else. It's space, the
Yeah.
vastness and the space. Just go, and then you just an unlimited amount of story content there, basically, but yeah, no, it's been a fantastic TV show that has exceeded my expectations, and man, that armor. I can't get over how great that armor looks.
Yeah, it looks
Mhm.
pretty cool.
My God.
Yeah,
yeah.
it does.
Oh my God, it looks
I would
incredible.
really
Like,
love to
not
see some behind the scenes stuff to see how much did
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys have to
definitely.
fix in post, but yeah,
Yeah.
it looks really good.
Well, honestly, I don't think much actually, because if you Paramount Plus, if you go to the extras section, they show you the behind the scenes, and honestly, a lot of it looks identical. So
Wow.
like they used as much practical effects as they could. Honestly, I mean, really, the CG is mostly used on like the Covenant, basically,
Yeah.
is where a lot of the CG is used. But otherwise, that armor and all of that is practical. There's practical effects,
Yeah.
and
It's impressive how mobile they made it then.
that's true. That's true, because that's always the toughest part, right? Where
Right.
it's just like, for example, like with because I know with like some of the DC movies, their capes a lot of the time are CG. Like Superman,
Yeah,
if
I
you see
think
like
in like 90% of the scenes, I'm pretty sure that
Yeah,
the capes
like-
are added and animated.
yeah, so like a lot
Go
of the
to like
time,
some of the Marvel movies where they literally are just in like mocap suits.
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
do
they're
like,
just-
most
Yeah.
all of it.
Well, it's like you see it in the behind the scenes of the Spider-Man, and 90% of
Yeah.
of him he's in a mocap suit. He's not really in the
I
costume.
think it was after one of the Avengers movies, RDJ was like, "Yeah, I never left my trailer.
Yeah,
I filmed it all
Yeah.
in a little box, just my head."
yeah, especially that first one.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny hearing Alfred Molina talking about with the new movie where there were no arms that they had to puppet like way back in the Spider-Man 2 when they had all the physical like Doc Ock arms and now it's all CG and how weird that was for him.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So you're looking behind the scenes and it's just him like moving his shoulders a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I've some of the behind the scenes of the new Batman movie, and most of it was all green screen. It wasn't in a city; it was on a soundstage with,
But
all the.
Didn't they shoot some of that on like the volume like they do for The Mandalorian
Yep,
as
some
well?
of it
Yeah.
was shot there too. So it's like they're not even going. I remember what was it, Dark Knight? They shot in like Pittsburgh, or no, it was Dark Knight Rises. They shot in Pittsburgh. It's
I
like
know they
now
shot.
Is it Pittsburgh or Toronto?
Didn't they shoot some of it in what is it, Glasgow or Glasgow? Or something?
I think some of it, but it was very
Like,
little.
out,
Yeah, it
like
was-
the daytime scenes. I
yeah,
think.
yeah. I think Dark Knight was the Dark Knight they did in Chicago because they needed the bridges, or they needed the river, and then they did Pittsburgh because the only reason I know they did Pittsburgh is because the stadium that Bane blew up that was Three Rivers Stadium. That was our Heinz Field. It's like I could tell it immediately. It's like, yeah, they got yellow seats. That's Heinz Field. There's no other stadium that has yellow seats. So, but yeah, the Halo show though is very good. I've just been waiting to watch more and more and more. So
Yeah, well, I got it because I mean, through the perks of Xbox Game Pass, they gave a free trial for
Right.
it. So I was just like, oh, well, yeah, if the Halo show's out now, then yeah, I'll get it and watch it. But yeah, there's, I'm sorry, like weekly episodic shows don't work anymore. They just don't. You
Yes,
have
they
to do
do.
at least.
it depends on the show.
Hard disagree. It does depend on the show for sure, but
Yeah.
hard disagree. It does work. You
But
just have
I
to plan
think-
for it.
Yeah.
I suppose, but like I just at the very least I think you need to give a minimum of 3 episodes at a time and just kind of like do them in like small bulks like that if you are going to release them little by little. Because
I
one at
do
a
like
time,
that for sure.
Yeah.
Because there's a few times that shows have done that recently. So putting them out in groups is kind of like that weird hybrid in between. So you're not
Yeah,
like
exactly.
binging the whole thing, but you at least get more than
Right.
one. Yeah, I do like
Well,
that. I
and
agree.
that's what
It
they're
feels
going to
like
end
they
up
kind of
doing.
spoiled us, because they start when streaming started getting really big, they're like, oh, well, we're going to dump everything,
Yeah.
and that's when this whole binging mentality, started. But then they took it away from us again, and now like, no,
Yeah.
we're into these limited run series. You're going to get 1 episode a week. We're going to keep your attention for 6 to 9 weeks.
Now, and we're going to keep
you
your
keep your
subscription for
subscription.
6 to 9
Exactly.
weeks.
Yeah, that's
exactly
why they're doing it.
Yeah, that's why they did
I-
it. They're going to
Yeah.
do their subscription. I mean, how many subscribers did Netflix lose this last quarter? Like 200 million or 200,000 or
Well, I
whatever.
mean, that's
Yeah,
their
300,000,
looming
yeah.
threat of kicking people off of your plan so you can't share it.
But they
Yeah.
still have like 35 million subscribers. Like, oh my god, 300,000
Yeah.
out of your 35 million. Like,
It's
get
not
out
just
here.
them. Any streaming service has that. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
then a lot of times it'll be like, oh, this new show is, so people will jump on it for when that show's there, and then they'll jump off and they'll jump back on and bounce
Yeah.
around.
My
Yeah,
thing
it
with
happens that way.
and I'll say this before we move on to Robert. My thing with Netflix is it's too expensive to get 4K. I mean, it's over $20 a month just to get 4K for 3 screens, where Disney Plus is and what, $9 a month, $7 a month for 4K.
$7.99.
Yeah, and I get 4K out the box. HBO Max is $10 or $15 depending on if you want to buy ads, and it's 4K right out of the box. It's like, why am I?
Well, I mean,
So,
I'm
okay,
not
so
saying this is how I do it, but a lot of people share the expenses, right? They're like, I'm gonna pay for the Netflix plan, and I'm gonna get the premium one. You pay for the premium Hulu plan, and then they're sharing all these
Yeah,
services with
that's-
each other. So you're really
Until
only
they
paying for
shut
the
you
one.
down like they're going to.
Well,
do.
yeah, of course.
So-
Netflix will be
There's
the one that does it
also-
first. I was like,
oh
"Hey,
yeah,
a lot of-
Netflix will do it
HBO
first.
they've said time and time again they might care now, but in the beginning they're like, I don't care.
Yeah, they
Share
didn't
away.
care. They didn't care.
They were
They care
actually like
now.
kind of like pushing it, promoting it, and Netflix is like, no, give me that dollar.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, there's also a lot of
so,
the cell phone carriers now. They give you one of them for free.
Mhm.
Like I don't
Yeah.
pay for HBO Max.
Let's
I got
see.
that from.
I don't pay.
AT&T.
Okay, I don't pay for HBO Max anymore. I get it through my internet service provider for free for a year. I don't pay for Hulu anymore. I get it through T-Mobile for free. I don't pay for HBO or I didn't pay for Apple TV. I got it through Apple for a year because I bought a new phone. I don't pay for, it's like a lot of them. It's like, yeah, I don't pay for them anymore because they come with the thing, with something else that I have that I pay for. So, yeah, I mean that's the other thing where
I
Netflix
think like
doesn't.
so. I'm looking now. They have, as in 2020. It says here Netflix had 209 million subscribers worldwide. 209. You lost 300,000. Oh lord. Oh no. 300,000 out of 209 million, please.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I mean,
Still,
you say that, but then
that's-
you have the board of directors
Yeah.
and all of these
That's a
things,
big
and
chunk of
they're the ones
change,
that
and then
care, right?
their stock fell.
Yeah.
So
their
your
stock fell a
shareholders.
lot.
That's
lost
what it's
money.
all about.
Yeah.
Maybe they should
Well,
stop
again, in the
just
grand scheme of
shotgunning
things.
everything and start doing quality shows again
Yeah.
and doing more about getting a decent amount of quality instead of just like, we have so much crap coming out all the time you can't even find anything good because it's just all the junk coming out
Right.
every single day.
Yep. As long as they keep making The Witcher, it's fine.
I think they have like
It's true.
6 seasons planned for that, so
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, I'll believe it when I see it. Netflix does not like long series anymore.
No,
I think
that's
Cavill's
true.
the one that's really pulling for it. He loves it. He
Yeah.
loves doing it.
Plus, he's going to be in the
Yeah.
new Highlander movie. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Dude,
excited.
to me, I'm excited now.
So, all right, Robert, go ahead. What have you been playing? I know
Oh,
you
man,
haven't been
where to
playing a
begin?
ton. So
It's what do you mean? It's been 2 years.
should
Let's
be
do the
plenty of
whole
stuff.
list.
Yeah.
I got 20 hours of content to go through with you guys. So let's see. No, I'm going to be as concise as possible. Most of that 2 years has been Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
If you know me, I love my Final Fantasy 14. So I've been playing a ton of that. Of course, it's had its like banner year where they came out with Endwalker wrapping up that expansion.
And everybody from
really-
WoW left and went to Final
Everybody-
Fantasy.
Everybody came on over, and let me tell you, if you play Final Fantasy 14, you can see who's a WoW player just judging by their names.
Yeah.
You get some of the weirdest names. I'm trying not to swear. Some of the weirdest names on there. I don't even know where to begin with, but it's ridiculous. But anyway, the story that they wrapped up with that, it was so good. They really did find a way to tie everything into a nice little bow. I don't know if you played it, Dennis, but it got very anime there at the end, which I wasn't really expecting, more so than it did its entire last 10 years or so. But it was good. It was really, really good.
Yeah, I haven't played. What's the most recent expansion? Endwalker.
Endwalker. Yeah,
Endwalker.
Endwalker.
Okay. I played a little. The last one I played a little bit of was Shadowbringer.
Okay.
And but I haven't played anything of Endwalker. I haven't had a subscription in quite a while.
Gotcha.
But I do miss it though. I mean, I do think about it from time to time of like, man, because I'm not playing any MMO at the moment. But I do think about like, man, like should I get back into that? But
I mean, I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm super biased. I've been there literally
Yeah.
since
it's an on and off
1.0
thing
alpha,
for me.
but
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
this
an on
one
and off
too.
thing for me. But I think I would much prefer at some point if I'm gonna dedicate time into anything. My heart does go more so on the side of Warcraft. But for me personally, it's also a nice yin and yang because they feel and play different. For me personally,
very much so.
yeah. So I don't ever feel like they're ever competing. So I can jump into one and the other.
Yeah.
I enjoy both, man. Honestly, like
I
I'm not on
played
this.
WoW. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
all about WoW for, I don't know, up until Cataclysm, but by then
Yeah.
I just fell off the bandwagon.
Yeah. I haven't played in a
but
couple of years either, not since Legion. So
I just
Oh,
love the
I
story-driven
haven't played
nature
it since
of
Miss.
14.
Miss was the
But-
last time I played it, and I even bought a subscription to Final Fantasy to try to play it, and I think I played it once or twice. It's hard for me to get back into an MMO because where I'm on the road all the time, and it runs on Steam Deck. So I've been sitting here going,
Yeah, so you were talking about Steam Deck. I'm like, man, that's really the only use case I have, is so that I can play Final Fantasy 14
Yeah.
handheld. I used to try to do it on
the
Vita, and
yeah.
it worked sort
Yeah.
of. Like you could like do the crafting and the gathering, because there was a lot of latency, right?
Right.
It was not smooth, so you couldn't do anything that required fast reflexes. But for that sort of stuff, yeah, like I could go out and I could level my gatherers, no big deal. But down with the Steam Deck, that's that has my interest peaked,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's $600 peaked just to have another.
Just
way
buy the
to
$400
play.
version. That's it saves you $200.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it's only $400.
Look, guys,
I don't know. I
saving
was
money.
I was
Still
looking through
spending
the store the
$4.
other day, and I went, "Ooh, Final Fantasy! I could play that on the."
Yeah, and I mean it plays perfectly.
Thought about
right?
it for a minute.
That's my understanding. It does. So it's
Yeah,
I don't know. I might.
it plays perfectly on there because it's got the controllers
Yeah.
UI built right in. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be fantastic on there.
Yeah, I seriously thought about it the other day, and I thought, do I really want to? I don't know. We'll see.
I think you do. You definitely do.
Uh,
But if you guys hop back in, let me know. Jump in my server. We'll definitely do some stuff. They just came out with their what is it? I think it's a 6.1 content patch. So we just got the first main story quest updates since Endwalker ended everything. So now we're doing the in between, gearing up for the next expansion for whenever it comes. In another 2 years, another 3 years, who knows? And they're doing some really cool stuff with that. I'm not going to go into spoilers since that is literally the whole point of this game. But if you know anything about the story, you probably have an idea with the different like shards and things like that. And they're also now with the latest raid that they just dropped, talking about all the gods of Eorzea, which is the continent that you're on, and they have 12 gods. So in the raid, you're going through and you're learning about these gods, and it's going to be really interesting to see as they come out with all the different turns for this raid. Usually they have like 3 or 4 for the alliance raids, so it is a 24-man dungeon that you go through. 3 teams of 8. But yeah, it's really cool. I haven't been this excited about any of the endgame content ever in Final Fantasy 14, so it is definitely worth checking out. Other than that, I've been doing a lot of streaming lately, so I hopped into Sea of Thieves recently. for the first time, first and second time, and
That's
John
an evil
John
pirate
kinda
laugh,
raided
John.
my yeah, John kind of raided my game
Yeah, and
out of
it
nowhere.
was well. I was getting ready. Okay, so I was going to bed one night, and I saw that's the problem with Robert. 6 hours,
Yeah, it's tough, man.
behind
My
because
time
it's like
zone.
he's getting on at 10 o'clock, and if I'm working, I'm getting ready to go to bed at 10 o'clock. So I just happened to pull up the stream real quick, and I'm
9
like,
p.m. Eastern.
yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, he's playing Sea of Thieves, and I was literally, I don't know how long you'd been playing when I first come in there. I'm like, no, you got to do this. No, this is why this is happening. Turn the wheel straight. No, when you hear it go
I
thump,
did
that's
not know
straight.
what I was
mean,
doing.
I
I've never looked at anything.
and
about
I don't,
Sea of Thieves.
yeah, and I told Nikki the next day. I said, you got to watch it. It was hilarious. I said because he didn't. He just went in. Oh, let me try this game, and it was like full bore.
And that was the goal, right?
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let's get some reaction out of this. I don't know what I'm doing. It's either going to be really awesome or it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah,
and it was a little bit of both.
It was a little bit
great.
of both. It wasn't that bad, but and then I came. I was actually off. I was here at the house the next Thursday when you did it, and I was like, you know what? I see he's online. It gives me the option to join his game. I'm just going to join his game. Right in the middle of the stream, didn't even ask, just joined. It was like
I need to know how to turn that off.
yeah, and
I don't know who all is on my friends list these days.
yeah, well, it was as long as it was just me. So it was like I hopped in, and he was over here on the stream on this island. When I come in, his boat was sinking. And he didn't know it was sinking. I'm like, your boat's sinking. Your boat's. So he comes back out. He comes back out, and the guy that sunk him boat was there, and he thought it was his. And I'm going, no, man, I'm with your boat over here at another island because it sank. You got to just die, and you'll appear on
I
your.
I thought it was my boat, so I jumped on his boat. I was running around. I'm like, wait, this isn't. Where's my stuff?
Somebody starts shooting at me. What's going on? It's like, yeah.
All the boats look the same, guys.
Yeah, all the boats look the same. So then when he finally when he finally died, and then he appeared on the outpost that I was at, then we started playing. So it was a good time. I want to do it again now that we, you kind of know what you're doing.
Kind of, yeah.
And
I was telling you on the side, it'll probably need to be like a Saturday thing.
Yeah, we'll have to do a Saturday thing.
That game, I have very limited time. So I'm usually streaming for like 2, maybe 2.5 hours if I get caught up in something. But with Sea of Thieves, something is going to happen right when I need to get off.
Yeah.
The first time I got attacked by a freaking kraken for the first time, and I was just me on the boat, so I'm running around, like a chicken with its head cut off. I'm like, oh, I got to get the water out of here. I got to patch the boat. Oh, the kraken's hitting me. I got to shoot it. I didn't. Yeah, it was awful. And finally, I got away from the kraken. I didn't end up killing it. And then I went around it and got to turn in all my stuff. But yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, and it just takes practice, and then it's like you stumble on. You either get a good server or you get a bad server. The server we were on was kind of an in between server. It wasn't too bad, and then you kind of got harassed for a little while, and then we didn't, and then it was like, but it's one of those games that once you accept the fact that you may get ganked, and that's just the way it is because it's a pirate game. You kind of just.
I mean, it doesn't really seem like any of the stuff that you lose is that big of a deal.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so it's whatever. I mean, you might lose a little bit of loot, but there's loot everywhere.
Yeah.
So I've found.
But all they need to do to get me to play it again is just add a new thing on the menu called peaceful fishing mode. Let me do fishing. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's fun, but not when people come by and shoot you with cannons while you're just sitting there trying to fish.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to bother doing it then. It's like, come on.
Yeah, you're right. But, it's that game, there's no way. I don't want to say there's no way. There's not always a way to do something quick. When you start that game, you're going to be on at least a couple hours. They did add those forts that you can go to that are pretty close to each outpost, and they maybe take 20 minutes to do, and you get a little bit of loot, and you can do that a couple times. But
it doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of quick daily things.
There's not.
Run around real fast, knock this out, and
Yeah.
That's it.
No, that's where those new forts come in. You could do that if you wanted to, but you're not going to get a ton. Where you're really going to get it is if you play, if you do the Gold Hoarder stuff, if you do the story stuff, if you do the Pirate's Life and stuff like that, which is fun. But it's more fun to do with at least one or two people because it helps to have a couple people with you.
It definitely feels like you're alone if you're alone in that game.
Yeah.
It definitely, even one extra person makes it feel so much better.
Yeah, and I've played it solo 75% of the time. I've soloed it, so you figure it out after a while. It just takes a lot of practice.
I just get lonely, man. I get lonely.
Yeah, I like playing with people too.
Yeah.
And have more people on the boat.
I like to play with people too, but sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, I just
weird randos
by myself. Yeah.
Well, the good news is 3 o'clock in the morning for you.
Yeah, it's
Not
like
3 o'clock in the morning
it's like
for
10
me.
o'clock at night for you or something. So.
Yeah.
That's what I plan on doing when I get done here. When we get done with this, is
Uh-huh.
go upstairs, use the bathroom, maybe let the dogs out, get another drink, throw in a load of laundry, and I'm going to play some Sea of Thieves. So.
I mean, it sounds like with that Steam Deck, you can do all those things at the same time.
Oh, I could be playing. Technically, I could sit here on the Steam Deck and play Sea of Thieves right now if I wanted to, but I didn't. I didn't have my charger with me. I left it upstairs.
That's what
so.
Yeah, it died. Oh god. So what else have I been doing? Well, yesterday actually I popped in Outriders on the PS5 for the first time in forever since whenever it came out with like its big patch to fix all the server issues. I didn't realize how close I was to the platinum in this game. I was only missing like maybe like 5 or 6 trophies.
Mm-hmm.
And they had just announced their big expansion coming out with new story content, new gear, all this stuff. And I really love this game. I mean, it's not a 10 out of 10 game by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think anybody would say it is, but holy hell, it's really fun co-op. And I've been going through it with Michelle and another buddy of mine, and we popped it in, and I looked at those trophies, and all I had left was a couple, like finish this side quest chain, finish this side quest chain. There was like 3 of those, and then once you complete those, I just had to finish all the random side quests. So that's what we did. We popped it in for like 2-3 hours, knocked out 3 of those trophies. I'm at 98% of all of the side quests in the game. And then after that, I just have to grind out the end game stuff right now, which is just kill maybe like 3,000 enemies or something in their expedition mode, which is like a horde mode type of thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to get that knocked out for sure before that expansion comes out.
I played a
I've also
little bit of that on Game Pass, and I couldn't really get into it.
Yeah, the story is not going to be, the driving force in that at all. It is definitely a like Gears of War co-op, fast-paced. Like if you're into like min-maxing your gear, then it's for you.
Yeah.
You get so much loot in that game, and customizing your loadout with all these like buffs for however you want to play is what it's all about. So you have like the 3 skills, right, that are on cooldown. So when you're not shooting them, you can launch these big attacks and whatever. And I have mine so that I play as a trickster, and one of the moves that I use a lot is like the blade cyclone. So I like spin around like an idiot with these like energy blades out, just ripping through people. And typically, the cooldown for these things are really long, like between 2 to 3 minutes. And if you're in a firefight with 50 dudes, that's a long time to not have your big power move. So my stuff is like buffed all to hell, and my cooldown on that thing, like by the time I finish that move, it's probably like a 30-second attack. I only have maybe 15 seconds before I can use it again.
Oh, geez.
So I can use my other skills, whether it's I have the teleport one, so I can like run into a bunch of enemies, do a bunch of like up close kills, because that's how my character is built. Is if I kill people next to them, I get my health refilled, and I get a full shield basically. Wow. So I have like 2 health bars, and then I can teleport back with my other move to get out of that mess once I got all my health up. So yeah, I've really made it so that I can just like plow through enemies at this point. And we have almost all of there's different like world tier levels, which is kind of like the difficulty of the game. and they don't force you to increase your world tiers, but that's kind of like the meat of the game is how far can I get into this? You don't, I think there's only like 40 levels in the game for like your character level, but then your gear level, you will get better gear depending on what world tier you're on, and it's gonna boost you up way higher than that 40 levels, and that's how you get all the epic gear and all of that. So we're at world tier 14 out of 15, so we've almost maxed that all out. We've gone in deep with it.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to all that.
That's cool.
Yeah. Let's see. I've also been playing Strangers of Paradise on the PS5 co-op with a buddy of mine. Did any of you guys play Stranger of Paradise? I know you guys are really into like the Soulsborne
I
type of
played
stuff.
the demo of it, and like, man, I couldn't get into it. That's not for me. Like,
I've been following this game since it was announced, and I didn't think I was gonna get it. And then, I played the very first like early access demo beta thing that they had, and dude, I probably put like 18 hours into that very first early access one just trying to beat the first boss. They had this thing tuned so hard. Like, it was ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
And I just kept doing it. And I was like, well, I finally did it. And Michelle's looking at me. She's like, you've been screaming at this game for 4 hours today. I was like, I was on the last boss. I had to do it. And then they came out with the next demo, and it was slightly changed, and there was like a normal and a hard mode. And again, I put 18 hours into it. And then they came out with the last one, and this one they're like, all right, well, this time all your progress is going to carry over to the main game. I'm like, well, I need to see what the game is actually going to be like, and now they've made all their big changes, so let's take a look at it. And I get through it, and I'm like, man, that was a lot more manageable. I had a lot of fun with it, but I still don't know if I want to play this game. And then I just thought back and was like, I put like 20 hours into these demos. I'm just gonna give them my money. It feels like something I should do at this point. So yeah, I bought the game when it came out, and I'm really glad I did. It's been a lot of fun. Again, the story's trash, at least so far. I mean, you get in there and it's like everybody has amnesia, and it's like, cool. So nobody knows what's going on, including you. Awesome. And it's like that, at least as far as into the game that I am. And I have read that once you get to the end, there is a decent payoff on that. But I don't know how you're going to give me a decent payoff on a game that I'm putting 30 hours, 40 hours into leveling up every single class in the game. There's like 19 or 20, maybe 21 classes in this game. And that's what's been the fun stuff for me, is going through with all the different classes, leveling them all up individually, seeing what kind of cool like combination builds you can make with them, because you can literally do anything. You can have, I think the one that I like the most so far is I've done like a paladin and a sage class, so like a healer and a tank class all in one, and I can just go through and just like solo everything by myself. But you do kind of have to go in methodically, like you would with any Soulsborne type of game. But then doing it co-op opens it up for a lot quicker paced combat, because you have someone who's able to hold aggro against you. So now you can really like do some crazy combos and really mess with the AI of the bosses in these games. Sometimes they're just like running back and forth at you guys, like, oh, what's happening? But I'm having a really good time with it. I don't know how far I am. I'd like to say that I'm nearing the end, but it almost feels like with this main story event thing that just happened that I might only be halfway. I don't know, but I have most of the classes at this point maxed out. I only have maybe 3 to 4 more, so we'll see. I hope I don't run out of classes to level before the end. So that's what I got for you guys.
Oh, is that it? Oh, okay.
That's it.
I knew it was short, but I didn't realize I thought there was another one. So
I think, did I not? Did I miss one?
No, you didn't. Okay, so go ahead, Eric. I know you and Nathaniel have been dying to talk about Elden Ring. So
Elden Ring. All right, so I'll do Elden Ring last, and Nathaniel and I can kind of tie that in. Okay, so I played a little bit of Tunic. I think I played for like a half an hour or an hour, just randomly because you guys recommended it. It's fun. I definitely like it. I had a little bit of trouble figuring out what I was supposed to do and like what was going on. I'm like, it's supposed to be like Zelda. What am I doing? But it's fun. I like the art style and the little character and everything. And like I said, I had seen that at PAX like the last time I went to East, so 2020. So I was looking forward to it. I got a couple emails for review copies of it, but I never heard anything back.
Hmm.
That's okay. It's on Game Pass, so and I'll buy it whenever it comes out. What else have I been playing? Some more Dying Light 2. If you like the first game, you'll like this one. The co-op's worse. It doesn't.
Love
Well, the first one, I had mentioned this before. The first one, like, let's say you hopped in your buddy's game and he was further along. Then you get back in your game and all your progress, like all the experience and stuff and the places you've been, you have access to that. So you can, like, keep going. But for this one, the lowest player has to host it. So my buddy can't jump into my game. I got to jump into him and can only help him with his stuff. I also don't. I get to keep items I find, but I don't get like anything else. So crappy. And it's weird. It disconnects all the time, and I'm like, it cannot be my connection.
No, I keep reading that they're having issues with that.
But there's a quest you do. There, spoiler. There's two different sides you can pick. One side gives you one thing. The other side gives you this sweet semi-automatic crossbow. And I was like, how do I get this crossbow? So I did all the quests. Didn't get the item. I found it was a major bug. I contacted Techline support. They said, yeah, we've heard of it. We're not going to do anything. But the next patch was great. And so, hey, got the crossbow.
Well, there you go.
It's fun. I mean, yeah, hit zombies, open world, RPG element. You guys know it.
Yeah.
Other thing I've been playing is, got this one for review. Thanks, Dennis. Andro Dunas. Did I say that right, Dennis?
Yeah, I would say, well, I think every time I read it in my head, it was Andro Dunos, but like, I mean, tomato, I don't know. I mean, you could be saying it right, I could be saying it wrong. Who knows? Honestly, it's a weird name.
So yeah, this is a sequel to a Neo Geo shooter that came out back in the day, and it is like you're playing a Neo Geo game in 1993. Mechanics, it is a fantastic horizontal shooter. It is very good. I recommend it. I'm decent at it. I prefer a vertical shmup than a horizontal, because horizontal, usually you can't run into the ceiling, and that's what I was having problems. But it kind of plays like R-Type with maybe more weapon options. So it's fun.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Oh, good. And I think it's like under $10.
Yeah, it's cheap.
$5. Like it. Oh, and there's a physical release for Switch and 3DS, but they're super limited. I bought one for 3DS. I might double dip. Might get it for Switch too.
Yeah.
Just so I can have it. Yeah, it's really good. It is. I have also been playing. I'm gonna slaughter this.
Real quick, Eric. Sorry, I gotta interrupt you for just a moment. I just want to say thanks so much for having me, guys. I do gotta dip, but I will catch you guys on the next one. Okay.
All right,
See
man.
you, sir.
Take it easy.
Thanks for joining
We
us,
will see
buddy.
ya.
Great having you here, Robert.
So I've been playing Gorago. I think that's how you say it. And it is a puzzle game where you're manipulating, like, it's on Game Pass, and I don't know why I started playing it.
We've talked about it.
A Wednesday after work, I was like, oh, what's this game?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. And it's you manipulate these images to solve puzzles. Like, you'll move a clock, the hands of a clock out of a clock face, or like the fire from underneath a boiling pot and put it in this other image to like do something. It's interesting.
Yeah,
me and Dennis have both played it, so we've talked about it on the podcast before.
I played it a little bit too, so yeah, I never finished it, but I got about halfway through it.
I haven't finished it either, but I like it. It's fun.
Maybe a 2-hour game, probably less than that.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
If you know all the puzzles, if you get stumped on a puzzle, of course it'll
I
take
had to
longer.
Google
Yeah.
one puzzle code. What? How do I do this?
Usually, if you just keep moving things and stuff, it's all about like digging down into the layers, and then I found this one thing, so now I can use it over here.
I was stuck on a puzzle for a while that had a shelf, and you had to like make it go up and down, and I couldn't figure out how to like, and I finally got it. But I liked it. It made me scratch my head.
Yeah,
it's good. So I've been also playing the heck out of Weird West. I'm almost done.
I need to play that one.
Yeah, I've downloaded it. I haven't played it yet.
So my only gripe is the combat and the review, which I almost finished. My only gripe was maybe I don't like the twin stick shooting mechanics for this type of game. I would rather have something like Wasteland or something. Maybe something where it's a little bit easier to aim, because I don't know. You tend to miss a lot of combat with ranged combat like this. There's no way to really lock on people. It's just, a mouse keyboard would do wonders here.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if it would play better on PC or if it would play better on
Try it on
console. It sounds
It's
like
still
PC
really
is
good,
probably
though.
a little better.
You know,
Yeah.
5 different stories, 5 different characters, all of different abilities and skills. I don't even know. I guess I would kind of describe it almost like a real-time version of like Fallout 2 and like the Wild West with zombies and werewolves and stuff. That's the best way to describe it.
Mm.
There's lockpicking. You can be a bad guy. You can steal from people. You can slaughter the innocent, and then you get bounty hunters in after. But it is good. It is very.
Well, it seems
fun.
kind of like a old Fallout style like type of a game, but with immersive sim elements in it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of how
yeah.
they're selling it,
It's good.
and that sounds awesome.
It
So I
is
definitely want
good.
to play it.
The first character I spent way too much time with. I spent like 10 hours. Probably like 10 hours with. But the other ones I was able to move things a lot quicker, and now I knew the mechanics and what I had to do. And I also recently discovered that when you're carrying around your companions, you can access their inventory as well at the stores, and I didn't know this. And I was like, oh, this would have saved me so much time, you stupid game. But no, it's great. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. And I think I saw that on sale recently for like under $10 too.
Hmm.
But it's a good game. And Special Reserve Games in Texas, they're putting out a nice physical copy with a nice steel book and an art book, and it looks really. They seem to they're very gung ho about the things I say on social media.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get to Elden Ring, I also got a chance to review this. See it on camera.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Wingman XB. This connects to your Xbox, and you can use your PS3 controllers, PS4, your Switch controllers. You could use like steering wheels and stuff from other consoles to it. You could use a fishing rod controller. I wrote a review on this. I tried PS3, Switch. I think I tried one other, and they all worked. Oh, I tried OG Xbox. They all worked fantastic. Oh, and 360. They all worked fantastic on the Xbox. Just plug and play. Away you go. Very weird to use like my Pro controller, my Switch Pro controller, my Xbox Series S. This feels doing some sort of bad thing. But it's really nice. They make really nice adapters. It's really solidly made. You can actually use it on the OG Xbox too. You just need to get a USB adapter for that. But yeah, it's really nice. They make all sorts of. I was aware of the brand because they had made stuff for retro consoles too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Made one for Dreamcast.
Yeah, and they have one for PS2 as well.
I think the Dreamcast and PS2 is on a dongle together. I think.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of like. I'll say it's not it looks a little funky, right?
Yeah.
You're like, whatever. But they have been really selling these little converters a lot. They have several different variations, and I was pretty impressed. It synced up, and the only one I had trouble with, I mentioned this in the review, is I have a third-party Nyko Pro controller for my Switch as well, also very good, and it would not work wirelessly no matter what I did. But everything else worked great.
Yeah.
So I was going to test my arcade stick too. I got. But,
yeah, that's the one that seems like most people use that for, is the arcade sticks.
Yeah, fire that bad boy up and play some Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
But okay, so Elden Ring, it has its claws in me still. My buddy just platinumed it. He's never platinumed anything, and I'm like, why did you pick this game? And it has a low threshold for punishment, but he went with a samurai dexterity-based class, katana. Nathaniel knows what I'm talking about.
Oh my god. You can
slaughter them all.
It's not the only class that you can just totally murder things in that game by just maxing out your damage really quickly, but because you can dual wield katanas and have two of the special katanas that also have like extra stuff on top of it, that it already has bleeding, and you just like do the like really quickly and just like carve through things.
So
it's ridiculous.
I was playing as a confessor. Like a paladin build, running around with a shield and a scythe, or a shield and a sword, and it was decent. And the scythe I had was very good. The spells I had were very good. I was able to take all these bosses. I won't spoil it too much, but Nathaniel, I actually got my buddy had to cheese the fire giant. I'm sure you've seen the videos with a crossbow or the bow. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I haven't really looked into any videos like that because I was just pretty much playing it on my own without any other input.
Yeah. The fire giant, no problem, but I got stuck at a boss I could not beat, and so I had to respec went, now I got the katanas. My buddy's involved. I'm stuck at the last boss though. See, get it. But that's it. I like the game. I might platinum it. We'll see. Depends how much more I have to play. And I got lots of other games. I mean, I got Spider-Man over there and Deathloop I want to play.
Yeah.
Try to finish dying. But yeah, I'm enjoying it pleasantly. I guess I liked it because of the open world and I could ride my horse and I could get away from stuff and come back to things when I'm ready to fight it. Good times. That's it. That's all I got. I can talk about it all day long.
Yeah, I've definitely also played a ton of Elden Ring. I've beaten it. I
Well,
could platinum it. No, I could platinum it on Xbox, but that would require doing more playthroughs to get the endings because I can't do the
Can't do the save
clouds.
scum?
I can't do the cloud save thing because I'm past that already. I can't go back and do whatever because I've
That's
already
what I
gotten
want.
past it, and but that's fine. I will eventually probably do that. I had to restrain myself from starting New Game Plus. So like, no.
No,
There's a
don't
couple
let
other
it-
things you want to play. If you do this, you're just gonna end up going through Elden Ring again, and you're never gonna get back to them. So just hold off; it'll still be there. You can go back. But I ended the game. It took like my epic journey. I looked at it. It was almost 7 weeks to the dot from the time it was released, and it was 174 hours that I put
Wow.
into that game. Being super, super, super thorough, finding every single thing I could possibly find, and there's still stuff that I missed. But I did all of the like major bosses. There's a couple smaller little like dungeon bosses I'm sure I probably missed. But all of the major ones, including a couple of the hidden optional ones, I did all of those.
Who gave you the most trouble? Come on. We can spare a second to tell. I want to know. You and I talked about this a little bit, but I got to know.
Honestly, some of the earlier bosses gave me more trouble because I wasn't OP yet.
Yeah.
Because by the time I'm getting to the end of the game, all these bosses everyone's having trouble with, it only took me 2 or 3 times.
So
because I was cheesing it a little bit by using the mimic tier.
So the second to last boss, the one with the lion, the beast, you know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
My friend was like, he's really hard. No, one shot, 5 minutes, I was in and out. One try.
A lot of the bosses in FromSoft games can be like that. Depending on your build or just the day you happen to play them, you'll be able to get through it really easily just because you're on your game. Or like this boss is very weak against this type of damage and you're spec'd for that. So you just like carve through them a little bit better because you're just like, okay, every time you're hitting them, you're doing more damage so that you're not having to like fight them as long. And then like you try it with a different build or you just get to something else and it's just like, oh man, this one's stomping me.
Apparently I missed it. There was this really easy way to kill the end boss and it was still working last weekend, but I was pretty busy with some other stuff and I didn't get into the game. And this week they patched it and I was like, crap. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, 1.04 is out now, patch wise.
Yeah.
Which there's a couple things in there that I'm like, ooh, that's good that they did that. Like, oh hey.
Fun, it's still cool.
But man, I played that game very much with big sword smack things really hard for a lot of it. And then when I get closer to the end, I start doing a little bit more variety with some of the weapons that you find later in the game because they're just some really, really cool ones. But yeah, most of that game was I had big sword that I was hitting things with. Let's see, what did I use towards the end? I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, I remember. I had a sword that was called something steeple is the name of it, and it's basically looks. If you look at the design of the sword, it looks like almost like a building, like a tower, and it has like all these little kind of spikes at the top, like it would be on the top of a building, but it has like a little red kind of dot at the top of it. But its ability was it would put like ghostly fire on it, and it just was really, really cool weapon to have at the end of the game because it was a great sword, but it moves faster than most of the great swords do, so you don't have to wait as long for some of the swinging for some of the really big weapons. So it was a really good balance of like, okay, I could still swing pretty quickly and get hits in, but I'm not, doing tiny little bits of damage because I have a smaller sword or whatever, So it's a fun weapon. There's so many weapons in that game. I had a huge collection by the end.
Yeah, me too.
I got
I
like
didn't. I sold like one or two in the beginning because I'm dumb. I just hung on to everything. I want to try
yeah.
the whip, the claws. Let me see what's up.
So they have achievements for getting all of the legendary things of spells,
Yeah, it's
etc.
good.
and so forth. I got all the legendary weapons without having to look any up. And
Nice.
then when I got to the end of the game, beat the boss, I was like, I'm going to do a couple of the things I missed to get those achievements. I was like, oh, okay. I ended up only having like to find 3 things to get the achievements for the others. So I was very thorough finding all of the
I screwed
legendary
myself.
loot.
There's one legendary weapon in an area that changes after a certain part of the game, and I didn't go get it. So yeah, I will have to do a second gameplay.
I know exactly which weapon you're talking about too.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But everything else, though, I got a ton of stuff already. I think I only have 2 of the side bosses to fight for.
Yeah. So if I play again when I'm playing again on like Xbox, I'm very set up for New Game Plus to play whatever kind of class I want with a cool weapon right from the start because I've got pretty much everything to go. I could like do all sorts of spell casting, but what I'm probably going to do is buy it on PC and play from the start there. Because I want to play on PC with mods because there's a few cool mods, including one that unlocks frame rate, and there's like pretty sure there's still one you can put like a photo mode into the game and some other stuff.
There's a mod on PC to summon let me solo her as a tier. That's cool. I'm sure you've read about that.
Yes.
That is cool. That person or that's doing that is pretty neat. Sidebar is it's somebody that's hanging out by this really tough boss. It's like you summon this person, they come in, they destroy the boss for you because this boss is very challenging.
Not only that, they're soloing the boss naked with a jar on their head.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
That's people are nice about that.
I have that jar. It's cool.
I do.
They have plenty of the dumb Mimi type armor in there, including the whole like mushroom set where you're just growing mushrooms out of your skin everywhere.
Oh yeah, that's a mushroom armor. That's good. Yeah.
The only thing I wish it did was like make you immune to poison because that would have made it perfect. Because then you could like run around looking like a dumb mushroom man, but like, aha, I'm in the poison swamp and it can't touch me. That would be fun. They didn't do that.
Well.
But yeah, there's like tons and tons of like armor and all sorts of cool stuff that you get in that game. Like after the first half, like you get all sorts of the normal stuff, and then once you get into the late game areas, like, ooh, here's a cool armor set. Oh, I found another cool armor set. Whoa, here's a cool one. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to wear. And a lot of them mix together well. So if you want to mix and match sets, you can do your whole Fashion Souls thing, or like what is it? Elden Ring bling is what I've seen for this game. So yeah, I will definitely be playing more of Elden Ring at some point. But I played some more of Horizon Forbidden West as well since last time. After I finished Elden Ring, I played some of that this week, and it's jarring. Some of the like just little things going back over to that game, like I can't just like hit a button and summon my mount whenever I want. I have to like whistle for it and then get on it. That's weird. That's like an extra step. And that's if I even have one tamed. If I somehow got destroyed and have to go tame another one, I can't just whistle anytime I want. It's just like dumb little things like that that if I hadn't been playing so much Elden Ring, it'd be like, oh, it's just how Horizon plays. And that's just how it is. And most, open world games, there's something with the mount. Whistle and it'll show up. It's like it's so good in Elden Ring just being able to hit a button and you like whistle it out of existence and you're just on it. You don't have to hit another button to get on it. And you take it for granted after playing it so much. You're like, oh yeah, that is really fun. Like a dumb little thing that Elden Ring does. It's really cool. Horizon's awesome though as well. It's just very different kind of a game than Elden Ring is. It's very much here's all these points on the map and go to them to find the things kind of a game.
Right.
Like, go here for this story, go here for that story. Hey, here's some of this type of thing here. Go and kill all of the proper type of creatures so that you can upgrade your pouches, craft things kind of a game. And so I think now I'm 30 something hours into it. And I think before Elden Ring, I'd put like 20 of those or a little over 20 of those. So I've probably maybe done in 10 hours this week then. And gotten into it. I'm probably like midway through, a little less as far as the map goes, although I haven't done everything that far. So I've traveled like halfway towards the far west of the map.
Yeah.
But I think I'm at like 35% completion or something on the game, so I'm assuming that counts all of like the side quest collectibles, all that. I don't remember what's calculated there, so who knows. I just finished a big mid story mission or whatever before the podcast tonight. It's like, all right, now I have to go and turn this thing in, so maybe I can get a new ability. I'm hoping. Because there's a few. That's another thing that like it does in Horizon that you don't really have in Elden Ring is like, here's a thing you found, you can't do it yet because you don't have an ability. There's not a lot of it in Horizon, but every once in a while you bump into it like, oh yeah, you can't go into this underwater cave because you can't breathe underwater. It's too deep for you.
Right.
Or here's like the big tall necks that you do to kind of like put the detail on your map, and then usually there's something tall next to it that you can jump off of. I found one that's like, no, you can't get here yet, and so even on the map it has a little lock icon next to it. I was like, well, okay. I'm just gonna end up exploring this whole map before I need it anyway, so what's the point? So like, it's just little differences in like the style of open world game with Horizon that's just a little bit like seeing it a little bit more than I normally would have, just because of having put so much time into Elden Ring and that style of game. Going back over to Horizon, it's like, oh yeah, this is how this game works.
Yeah, and then just jump right into it. It's like, oh.
So it's like, hey, in Elden Ring, cliffs can be dangerous if you're, gonna jump off them. Like you get further fall distance than you do in previous FromSoft games, but you can still fall off to your death. But in Horizon, you just like pop the glider, wee. That's fun. And then you're like, oh crap, I just ran around a corner and here's a giant T-Rex thing that's going to stomp me. This is fun, run away.
Yeah.
And there's some of the like machines that are in the first game that they've kind of buffed a bit for the second game, or they've been tweaked because there's extra damage types in Horizon that were not in the first game. So something like the Snap Maw, the giant crocodile things, are weak to slightly different things in this game than they were in the first one, and they seem a little more dangerous to me now. And like, yeah, there's a couple fights I've had in there where I'm just like barely making it through, mostly because I'm being sloppy. Like, oh, I aggroed like half a dozen enemies at once. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. The robot dinosaurs are now angry.
That'll happen.
But yeah, like just the cinematic nature of that game is so good. From just like when you're in town talking to somebody and they're like actually moving around and it's just a normal conversation, or even just the cutscenes. But even just like, hey, I'm just wandering around and I'm on this cliffside looking around, look at this vista and how like beautiful and crazy this sunrise looks, So it's a very, very pretty game.
Yeah, it is.
Looking forward to putting probably a lot more time into it because it's not a small game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing.
All right, we'll blow through news real quick. Last show we talked about PlayStation Plus was rumored to be coming, changing and coming. Yep, it's coming in June. It's pretty much PS Now and PlayStation Plus put together. Meh.
And it's terrible.
Yeah, I need I need more information.
So it had the opposite effect that they would have wanted on me. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to just go and actually bother to find my PlayStation Plus thing and turn off auto redo on it that I haven't bothered to do.
Yeah. As of right now, I'm just keeping in my subscription as the basic PlayStation Plus just to get, the online gaming.
Yeah, mine goes through, I think, November or something, because I got it right when I got my PS5 at launch time or a little after that. So it's November, December is when my PS Plus runs out, so I can decide by then.
I think mine is March, and unless something changes, I'll probably just keep it the same. What aggravates me is they're doing a lot of backwards compatibility with like PlayStation 1 and PSP and stuff like that, but they're putting it behind the top tier $18 a month thing.
Limitations.
Yeah, but you're streaming PlayStation 3 games, but everything else plays natively. But I just can't. I own a disc, but I can't pop it in there and play it. It doesn't make sense.
Me too.
I don't like that, but
I get why they're doing it though, because the amount of people who want PS4 games and stuff is way bigger than the amount who want the PS1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And so if they're going to do 2 tiers of it, that one's definitely going to be the more expensive one, because it probably, I don't know if it costs them more or anything, but it's just like, okay, whatever. It's just the fact that they have 3 different levels of stuff. It's just like, why are you making it so complicated?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Xbox Gold, Xbox Game Pass, and Xbox Xbox Game Pass for old games, if that's what it was. It's just
Yeah.
like they don't split it that way.
I don't know if they would just let me. You know, I own so many PSP games digitally. I own a lot of PS1 games digitally that I bought on PS4 and PS3. You know, it's like, let me just play those games. If I can play them natively on the PS5, let me play those natively on the PS5 without having to subscribe to your service and then download them that way. It
You mean
just
like
doesn't
I
make
can go on
sense.
my Xbox and see that Kingdoms for Keflings is there and be like, oh yeah, I remember that from the 360. I forgot I owned that.
Yeah. Or I could actually pull a copy of something off my, Panzer Dragoon Orta
Yeah.
from the original Xbox and just pop it in my Series X, and it just downloads it and I can play it. Why can't I do that? I mean, why do I have to pay you $18 a month to be able to access a catalog of games that I've already paid for? I don't know.
It's because Sony is like, quote, #1 and they don't care right now and they don't have to make up any goodwill and that kind of thing. So
I guess,
I don't
yeah.
know.
It's just
You saw it with Xbox in the past with how they do stuff when they were kind of on top. It's just, whoever's in charge is going to do it the way they want to do it. And, that's
Yeah.
just kind of how it's going to go. Whether it's good for consumers or not, it'll make them money.
Yeah, I hate it. It aggravates me. So as
Yeah.
of right now, it's just going to be my regular $60 a year to.
I'll be
play
very
online, and
curious
that's
to
it.
see how long it stays at this 3-tier whatever thing
Yeah.
before they change it. Because as it is, everyone's just saying like it's not Game Pass. Like, why?
Right, yeah.
So how long is it? How many people are gonna actually bother paying more for it? Some will for sure, because there's
not
at
to
least
mention-
some will do it, but like it's not gonna be as big as they want it to be. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Well, not to mention there's like a limitation in the content also, because when I was reading, it was like the second tier only gives you access to like 300 to 400 of those backwards compatible or like older games.
No,
And then if you want
the way it
700
the 700 plus is your PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PSP games. Those are on the top tier. The 300 games that you access, those are PS4 and PS5 games. So that's all you get. Your middle tier is PS4 and PS5. Your top tier is PS3, PS2, PS1, PSP. So that's where they get the 700 games at.
Yeah.
It's not, you're only accessing the middle tier. Was if anybody does, if any tier is successful, it's going to be that middle tier because it's going to be PS4 and PS5 games. That's what people are going to want. Now your hardcore ones will want the PS3 games streaming, the PS1 and PSP games, and the PS2 games downloadable. But that's the high tier. That's where they get the 700 games at. That's the 300 PS4 and PS5 games plus 400 games from the past PlayStation era. So
that's ridiculous.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, why? Why do I have to pay $3 more to access your
And then-
entire catalog?
What's even funnier to me is just the time limited trials thing
Mhm.
of like newer games of just like so glorified demos. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
that's,
great.
no.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. And then here we go. We're 2 months away from launch, and we don't know what games are going to be on it. Are they going to be newer games? Is there going to be older games? Is there going to be indie and third party games going to come day one? Are they not going to come? There's no info. It's just like they've just slapped it together and said,
Honestly, I don't care because I have Game Pass for anything that's not a PlayStation exclusive.
Right.
If there's any chance of it coming to a service, it'll probably be on Game Pass, and that's great. And then for PlayStation, I'll play the exclusive games I'm interested in, which is a few games a year at most.
Right.
So I'll probably just buy them anyway. So I'm not
Exactly.
going to do a subscription for that.
right, and that's the way I am. They already said, oh, well, Miles Morales is going to be on there, and Spider-Man's going to be on there, and well, great, I've already bought those. And
Yeah, right?
And most people that bought a PlayStation 5 has already probably bought those now. So great, you're doing a streaming service with them on where you can download them for free. Okay, it's if it was there a year ago, okay, but I don't know. It's a weird thing. We'll see how it all pans out, but until they put day one first party games on there, and it's not really a game. I guess you could say because of that, it's really not a Game Pass competitor. It's just them putting PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus together.
I mean, you see how often that stuff comes on Game Pass as well. They're not going to really do that probably, but they haven't really said if they're going to try. So it's got to give it time to see what they're going to actually
Right.
do with it. We have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. So, I put this in there. Microsoft and Sony both have said they're going to sell ad space in games. So Microsoft has said it's going to be in the free-to-play games. Sony hasn't said the rumor, so I'm guessing it's going to be in any game, which is not unusual. I mean, you played Death Stranding, right, Dennis? So, and it had advertising in there for Monster and stuff like that, didn't it? There was.
It did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Every time you were in the little
Advertisement for
little,
Mountain Dew and Doritos.
yeah, well, you see that in just about every dirt bike game.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's like I remember Burnout Paradise back in the day. They were doing ads on a bunch of just the billboards in the
Oh,
game.
yeah.
yeah.
And that's,
There's like Obama, I think, had some ads in that game. Like all sorts of just weird stuff would pop up on those billboards.
yeah, and that's
It's
essentially
cycling
what
them out.
and that's essentially what this is going to do. What I think's funny is people online are thinking it's going to be, or saying it's going to be like YouTube, and you're going to be playing a game, and then a 30-second ad will pop up in the middle of your game, and you'll have to sit and watch it. I'm like, no, that's not what they're talking about. It's
Anyone ever
literally-
tried that game would die a horrible death.
Oh,
We
yeah, it
complained
would.
about it on the
Uh-huh.
internet enough to where no one else would do it, or at least people would be like, "Oh, hey, we're paying attention to this," and
Yeah.
like, "Don't play this game."
Right, and I have no problem with them putting them in free to play games. I don't usually play play games anyway, and if it's a billboard or something that's in a free to play game, who cares? It's just a way.
It depends on how they implement it, really.
Yeah.
Like, you can do it if it's something like that, great. If it's something like free to play games on mobile that are super obnoxious and it gets in the way of playing the game, then that sucks.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think either of them will be doing that.
I
kind of
don't
thing,
either.
but-
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And then the March sales came out, and for the first time ever, Xbox Xbox Series outsold PlayStation 5. That's probably just because the Xboxes were more readily available than PlayStation 5.
Yeah, they had a few more of them out there to buy, so
Yeah.
they were able to pass. Yeah.
I've seen pictures of actually people finding Series S's or X's in stores, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, that's
Walmart and Amazon and GameStop had them up for order last month for days. So it's
Man, think back like several months ago to where it was like, man, these were up for like a couple hours to buy,
Yeah.
and that was a lot.
Yeah,
let
I
alone
know.
days.
Yeah, it's like, I'd wake up in the morning and it'd be a tweet would go out and it'd say, "Hey, the Xbox Series X's are still available to order on Amazon." I'm like, "Holy crap!" I mean, that's been like 2 days. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for Amazon, right? That's like
Yeah.
the one place like anybody would go to look for it, right?
Yeah. Well, the big rumor is, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, that apparently Microsoft had paid for chip priority. Was how they have got so many out there, but that wouldn't surprise me. I really think what
Yeah.
we're seeing is Sony started producing PlayStation 5s back in the summer before launch, and Xbox waited until they got the RDNA 2 technology or whatever, so it was only a couple months before launch before they did. I think what it was Sony just got a bigger stockpile of them quicker than Microsoft did, and we're just now seeing a catch up of it because of those chip shortages and the shortages of what they call it, where the transportation shortages and stuff like that. Getting
Supply
stuff
chain.
in.
Supply chain, baby.
Thank
Got to
you,
use
yeah.
those terms.
Yeah, the supply chain stuff. So I think it's just a combination of that. But it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Microsoft has deep pockets, so they both. What's funny is both those systems are made in the same place in China. So I could totally see Microsoft going, "Hey, here's a couple extra, and we'll put you ahead." And they're, "Oh, okay." I mean, sure. I mean, why not? So, but yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I know GameStop apparently had PlayStation 5 bundles today. I saw a lot of people standing in line at GameStop this morning, waiting to get their PlayStation 5 bundles. So, I mean, they're still out there. So, but it seems like the Xboxes are a lot more readily available, which, I mean, maybe we're getting to a point where they'll both be readily available. I don't know. It's still weird to me that I can't walk into a store and buy one, but I still see Switches. I still see Series S's. But
Honestly, at this point, I don't know. This might just be the generation where it's like that.
yeah, it could be. I tell you what, though, everybody could complain all they want, But the way Valve did their pre-order and stuff, and the way they're rolling it out, I think that's the best way to do it. Just
no, they did a wonderful job with
yeah,
that.
just let me put $5 down on it, and here's when you'll eventually get it, and we'll send you an email. You got a couple days to. I mean, it was perfect, and I was totally happy waiting. I was like, okay, I know I'm going to get one, and I'll wait that way instead of
just
trying
do it as a queue line. Like
Yeah.
it's it's simple. Like, come on, guys, it's not that hard.
Yeah, instead of trying to fight bots and fight this and fight that, and I just went on Valve or Steam and pre-ordered it, and then they say, "Hey, we'll send you an email." Okay, and sure enough, they did. So, it all worked out. But yeah, I hope a lot. I hope some of the other ones, if this is the way it is going forward, that they look at that, and I would be fine doing that to get an Xbox or a PlayStation. Just let me put $5 down on it and email me in 6 months when it's ready.
Yeah.
I'm fine with
I mean, the problem with that is it's sold in so many places.
Oh,
so
yeah.
But even, if the only place you could do that was the Microsoft store or the Sony store to get them, that'd still be more than what we're doing now.
Yeah. And I mean, and the thing about it is Walmart, and they don't make any money off console sales. They don't make any money off software sales. They make like $5 a game, if that. They don't even make that on consoles. I mean, when I worked at GameStop, we made no money off consoles. What we made money on was accessories. That's
why we're not gonna ever see the system like with Steam, because they just like, okay, we get them in, they go back out. That's all they care about.
Yeah. And that's why you see, GameStop with, oh yeah, you want a PlayStation 5, you got to buy it with 3 games, you got to buy it with an extra controller and a $50 gift card, because they make more money on it that way than just selling.
They also want to
the
make sure
console
you're
outright.
committed, so that way the bots don't just like sweep up all the consoles right away. Just that. Otherwise, the people who just want to sell their consoles are going to be sitting on extra stuff they don't want or probably can't sell. So
yeah, I don't know. Times will eventually change with that, but who knows? But I think you're right, Nathaniel. I think this is going to be the generation where you're just not going to walk in and buy a system.
I think what it's going to require is more factories being opened to make more chips, so that there's more chips out there in general for lots of things. But it's just that would take time to build new factories. You can't just like, boom, magically it's there and starts production. That takes a whole lot to spin up. So by the time even if they wanted to do that, and maybe some places are, still takes time before that gets up, and by that time we're like, oh, we're moving on to the next Xbox and the next PlayStation, because it's been 6 or 7, 8, however many years by the time they actually move on. So who knows?
Well,
we shall see.
It's like buying a car right now. We're probably going to buy a new vehicle. We went to the dealership the other day. These are the ones we got on order. We'll sign you up for an email so you can follow along. It's like it won't be built until May 9th, and then when it ships out shortly after that, it'll be another, maybe the end of May. And there's an email that we get. They send us updates. Okay, they're working on this. This is going to start. Then they're going to do this. It's like, this is crazy. It's like, just can't go over to the dealership and go, I want that one. It's like,
can I get the one? Just take the fancy screen out of it. It'll be fine. I still be able to drive.
Yeah.
And then I can actually get a car.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. But, oh, well. The time we live in. So, all right. Does anybody got anything else before we go? Because we went a long way. We've had a long time, but we haven't done done a show in almost a month. So,
well, that's true. That, and then there was also 5 of us. So,
yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
A lot of content between us all.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, Robert will be able to be back, every show. Now that he's, working a different job, so we'll see. Hopefully so. So it was good to have him back around again. So all right, well, like I say, if you guys want to join us live at GL_podcast on Twitter, you'll know when we're going to go live, or you can subscribe to us on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or wherever. It streams to all those places all at the same time, so I try to have all the bases covered. So go subscribe to one of those things. You'll know when we're live if you want to come hang out with us live, and if not, we're on every podcatcher in the world. Dennis updated the tile for the podcast the other day, and I actually saw all the ones that Podomatic actually puts us on. And it was like, holy fright, I didn't realize there was that many podcatchers out there, and 2, I didn't realize they just automatically put us out there. There was like 20 of them. It was like, holy crap. So But yeah, so and the other thing, if you haven't been to the website in a while, Dennis has redesigned a lot of the website. It looks really good. I like. I hadn't been on it in a couple days, and I like how you got the feature on the top and some of the past podcasts on the bottom with everything else in the middle. It's a really cool setup. So it still looks kind of the same, but it just kind of has a fresh coat of paint on it, and some things have been adjusted around. So
Yeah, I didn't want to go too crazy just for people who are, because the site's been around for a while, right? So you don't want to make things too different. You want to keep things familiar, but just, like you said, put a fresh coat of paint on it and just kind of, give it a nice facelift. So, just pretty it up a bit. So
yeah, it looks really good. Very, very happy. Excited about it too. So, but all right. Well, guys, thanks a lot for hanging out and listening with us, and we will catch you all next time.
take care.